Well, hello everybody. It looks like we're live. And I know sometimes the commercials have to play first. I appreciate you guys letting those commercials roll. You don't always have to do it on the live videos. I know you want to get in here. I'll try to pause a little bit before I jump right into stuff, but the video, the ads, if you let those run, I get a little piece of that advertising money. So that's one way to contribute without spending any money, just a little bit of time watching, or you don't even have to watch the commercial, you can just let it roll. So anyways, I am Mr. Tie-Dye. It's Wednesday, so here we are again. Time to do some more tie-dye. We're going to do some Q&A. So let's just take a quick look, see who's in the house today. We got Slater in Dog Universe, Donna, Bien, Kirsten, Mary, Carla, Gwen, Ned. Oh, my mom's in the house. That's Maxine McClellan. Hi, Mom. Dallas, Pam Gardner, Alan. Let's see, Raphael, Mary. Oh, and we got Griselda, and she is a new member of my site. Huge Mr. Tie-Dye fan. Thank you, Griselda. I appreciate all the support. And I've had some donations sent directly to my PayPal account, so thank you for those. I guess I should start writing a list of the names down so I can do shout outs for those, but I will try to remember to start doing that. But anyways, thank you to the new member. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's see, we got a bunch of people saying hello, you made it. First time, got somebody doing their first tie-dye. Awesome. Glad to hear everybody's having some fun. Glad to see everybody back again. We got 44 watching at this point. Love your work. New to tie-dye over here. Hey Frankie, nice to see you. Yeah, Griselda, nice to see you. Thank you again. Hello Gwen. Dan from San Diego, nice to see you. Abs and Ags, V&O. Where do you get your dyes? I use Procyon fiber reactive dyes, and I buy most of mine from Dharma. But a couple of the dye houses I bought from is Custom Colors in North Carolina and Grateful Dyes in Colorado. And then I haven't bought from them, but I have heard of Procam. So those are the 4 dye houses that I'm most familiar with. But I live on the West Coast, so Dharma has been my source for the last 20 years. So that's where I get mine. And they're fiber reactive Procyon dyes. Those are the ones you want to look for. Hello from San Diego. Okay, let's see. Thank you for the birthday. Oh, you're welcome, Dan. Yes, I try to send out birthday wishes to everybody. That's just, I think it's a way of sending peace, love, and light out to the world. You just keep doing that every day. There's new birthday wishes. So you're welcome. Does it make a difference using distilled water or tap water? For me here in Oregon, I haven't had any problems using tap water. But I know some people, their water systems, or if they're on a well or something, is different. I'm not sure what the effects of hard water are or extra minerals. But if you're having an issue using tap water, then I do recommend using distilled water to mix your dyes. I know there's a lot of dyers that's what they use because they know they have issues. So yes, that's a definite possibility there. When washing out my designs, I sometimes get strange little tiny spots of color. What is this? Most likely there's little tiny specks of dye that didn't dissolve all the way. And I know like some of the reds, the browns, the black, those are the ones most common. That is the reason, one of the reasons that I turn my shirts inside out and work on the inside. So if I do have tiny little spots on my shirt, a lot of times they're just on one side. So those will be hidden on the inside. So you can try that. Another thing is I pour all of my dyes through a filter. So I try to get as many of the tiny little specks out. So it's a fine mesh filter that I have. It's one from the doctor's office, the urology office that they give you when they think you have a kidney stone. Anyways, we happen to have one of those sitting around and we hadn't used it, so I started using it for tie-dye. But also I think some of the coffee filters, they have the really fine metal mesh, and that will help strain out some of them little dots. So right after I mix my dye, then I pour it through the filter into my bottle. So let's see. thank you so much for all your amazing videos. You're welcome. I've been so inspired, and I've already sold 2 shirts without even advertising. I can't wait for my Dharma dyes to get here. Oh, that is fantastic. Congratulations, and you're welcome. I'm glad to, I love to help and inspire people to have success, and if people can go on then to make a little extra money or build a full-time business out of it, I think that's fantastic. Let's see. What do you use on your table to protect it? Do you use a drafting board cover? I don't have anything on my table here. This is just one of those plastic fold-up tables. It folds in half here, so it's, you know, not quite 3 feet wide, but it's about 6 feet long. So it's just one of those cheap ones, and you can see all the scratches where I've done my little carving with my X-Acto blade and everything. So. But this here has just been my way that I've always tie-dyed, is directly on table. I know some people tie-dye on racks, and I've tried that, and it doesn't work for me, so I don't do it. And that's the whole thing, is just find what works best for you. Got my LED lights today. Awesome. I have very hard water here, and my dyes are absolutely fine. Okay, that's good to hear. Like I say, I haven't had any issues, so I don't know a lot about that, but that's good to hear. Oh, looks like we have a new member just signed up. Donna, thank you for becoming MrTieDye fan. I appreciate all the love and support that I get. Good to see you. Thanks for all you do. Always responding to my questions and comments. Use salt in your dye. I do sometimes. It's not something that's required, but in like my black dye, I like to use the salt. Just anything that I can do to kind of improve my blacks, because black is the most difficult color to get. So salt is something that I do put in my black dyes, and I do put urea in my black dye also. And then I do it sporadically on the others when the mood strikes me. But I don't always use urea either. Let's see, how long can you keep the made colors for in a bottle? I mix mine up, and they are usually around for 2 to 3 weeks. The good thing to do when you're mixing your dyes is if you write the date on the bottle that they're mixed, then you know how old your dyes are. And once I start getting close to 2 or 3 week mark on some of the different colors, like green is one of the colors that will dye the fastest, my emerald green. If I'm at the 2 or 3 week mark, I'll go ahead and add another scoop of powder and blend it up. But you can only do that once, maybe twice, and then you're going to get too much stuff building up in your dyes. So it is good to, at some point, finish off a bottle and mix up new, but if I've got a bunch of dye, I just freshen them up at the 2 or 3 week mark. Should we put labels on your videos? It's very addictive. Yes, I know that. Sorry. I will have to label them. Let's see. Okay, well, let's jump in here. I got a bunch of questions. My first baby Wednesday. Did your heart on the... Oh, wonderful. Let's see. Meade, Oklahoma. How you, Rodna? Nice to see you. You live in the UK, what dyes do you recommend? Yeah, I think, I'm not sure if Saucy Mare is in here. I know she's from the UK, or at least across the pond over there. So if anybody else is from the UK, do you want to shout out where you get your dyes from, or what kind of dyes? We've had a question here, and where I don't live in the UK, I don't know. I just first ordered a dye from ProChem, but I've never mixed my own before. Any tips or must-knows? I do have a video on mixing the dyes. I can't think right off the top of my head, but yeah, if you just search my channel for mixing dye, you'll find my little video, or go to the beginner playlist, and that has the mixing of the dye and the mixing of the soda ash on there. What is Synthropol, and what do you use it for? It is, yes, I do use it. Oh, it looks like we have another new member. Kirsten, thank you for becoming a huge MrTieDye fan. But the Synthropol is a pH neutral soap, and I know some dyers, they use Blue Dawn dish soap, because it is also a pH neutral soap. Since we use soda ash to raise the pH, and then we rinse the soda ash away to lower the pH, you don't want to turn around and use a detergent that has soda ash in it and raise your pH back up. That's where a lot of backstaining happens. So I do use the Synthropol, and it helps keep the dye suspended in the water so it doesn't go back into the t-shirts. So I use that more so on my first time that I'm doing the wash, and then after that I use a little bit on the next two washes. Okay, so one of the new products that I've been playing with is called Decolorant. And I found this originally on the Dharma website. It's by Jacquard. And then later, as I ran low on here, I did find it on Amazon. So you can find it in either place, but the Decolorant, what it does is remove the color, but it's not bleaching it out. It's doing I don't know what the chemical reaction is, but it's doing a different reaction. So I've had a bunch of people asking about it. They've seen some of these different hearts that I've done and re-dyed. So I started with a black shirt and got the pink heart on there. So I decided I was going to do a demo on this, but I had wanted to play with it a little bit. So I'm just now getting to the point where I'm ready to do a demo for this. So that's the first thing that we're going to do today. And I'm going to do just a little mini tapestry. I have a piece of black fabric that's 46 inches by 39 inches. So we're going to fold up a heart and remove some color from there. So, oh, the other thing we have going on is the Tapestry Auction. So these are the ones from last week. This was the flag fold. And of course it's big. It's, if I'm remembering right, it's like 84 inches by 56 inches. I put the dimensions over in the photo album. And that is I think the second link. Oops. Wrong thing. Let me get a different message here. So over here in the LaunchLinks, I do have the photo album. So if you want to take a look at the tapestry in all of its glory, more so than what I can show here, if you just go to the LaunchLinks that I just posted in the chat room, then that will open up and you can see both of the tapestries that are up for auction. So anyways, this here is the bigger tapestry. It's the flag fold that I did last week. Oh, let's open it up this way. So I would have liked more saturation, but I at least like that the white that is left in here is pretty even around here. So I was really happy with how this came out. So we're going to go ahead and start the bidding on this one here. So this here's the flag fold, and it's the first tapestry up for bid. So you guys can just place your bids down in here. Oh, let's see. Is the tie-dye on Amazon good? The ones from Jacquard, I've heard mixed things from different people. I don't know the full stories, but yes, if it's the fiber reactive Procyon dye, those should be good. But I can't speak guarantee anything from Amazon, but I know that's where a lot of people are buying the Jacquard little bottles of dye from. So, but the Procyon dye is the main thing you want to look for. Okay, so let's see. Let me scroll back just a little bit. And I did thank Kirsten for becoming a huge MrTieDye fan. I appreciate all the members. I appreciate all the donations. Gnomes are my favorite. Awesome. After you rinse out first in the sink, how many different designs can you put into the washer together? I put up to probably 10 items in the washer together. And like I say, the first wash, the water is going to look really dark depending on how well you did your rinse out. I try to do a bunch of rinsing in the sink, but you can only do that so much. And then at some point, I just put them into the washer in hot water and synthepol. And like I say, I wash up to 10 shirts together, depending on size. If they're little kid shirts, then I might wash 15 together. Let's see. Bought some dye on Amazon. It works great for me. Yeah, like I say, I've heard a lot of people say that. I've heard a couple people say that a couple of the colors didn't work well, but I don't know if maybe they had sat around for a while. I know sometimes if the dyes get too old, they don't work as well. But let's see. I think I'm about caught up here. Dharma makes good dye. Yes, I've been using Dharma dyes for 20 years now. Start with jacquard and have great results. Yep, the jacquard dye is good. Okay, let's go ahead and get started on here. So I opened up the auction. I don't think I had any bids yet. Nope, not yet. Okay, so the piece of fabric I have here, like I say, is 46 inches by 39 inches. And what I've done is just I folded it in half. So this here is the middle of the fabric right here. And what I'm going to do is just put a heart right in the middle. And what I use for this here, I have these dry erase crayons. And they're, yeah, Crayola brand, I believe. I don't have the whole crayon here, but anyways, I found these dry erase crayons on Amazon. And that allows me to then make my marks on black fabric where I can see it. And then this dry erase crayon is going to wash right out in the wash machine. So that's the nice thing about these. Okay, so there's my heart on the black fabric. And like I say, what we're going to do is tie this up and then remove some of the color from this. Okay, you throw the shirts in the wash wet once they're rinsed out in the sink. Yes. Yeah, I go right from the sink. I rinse them until the water's kind of running clear, semi-clear. And then they go right into the washer, and I've already filled that half full with hot water and added Synthropol. You don't want the shirts to sit just in a pile. Like I've heard some people, they'll rinse one, throw it in a tub, rinse one, throw it in a tub, and they'll stack 3 or 4 into a tub. That's when some of the dye staining can happen. I like to drop mine right from the rinsing right into the wash machine. So I'm going to go a little bit smaller with these pleats here. And I do have a video. You can search for washing tie-dye, or you can also just find my beginners playlist. And there I show my process for doing my rinsing and washing. Okay, Gwen kicked it off with a $50 bid. Is it easy to mess up hearts and mushrooms? Any tips for doing it correct? I'm not going to tell you a correct way. I'm going to show you my way, because I know there's lots of different ways people fold stuff up. It's because lots of different dyers have figured out their own method, what works for you. So what I'm showing here, I start my heart always up at the top here, at the peak. I find that if I go from the bottom up, then I don't have as good of a peak here. And then the other thing is just making sure that I am lining this line that's flat here, just straight up on here, and that's going to put my line nice and even on the top here. So, and then the main thing is if your line isn't perfectly straight here, you want to make sure that you have it drawn on there where you can see it, so that when you tie it, you tie straight across, and if the line is kind of curved, you want to dye along that curved line, not along the folded line. But with the heart, usually you can get that fairly straight on here just by maneuvering the fabric around as you go. Okay. I'm too waiting on Dharma delivery. Hope, yep. Yeah, they're taking a little bit longer. They're working with a skeleton crew, but we got to just send light and love out to all of the workers, whether they're in the grocery stores, the gas stations, the medical workers, first responders, and even the dye houses. I mean, people are working, doing what they can. So just try to be patient with them, and your stuff will show up. I know it's a little frustrating because you want to get started, but you could binge watch more MrTieDye, and then you'll be ready when it shows up. Okay, Saucy Mare is bumped it up to $60. That's for the flag fold. What if you have a front load washer? Okay, I did have a front load washer for probably 3 or 4 years during my 20 years of doing tie-dye. And what I did for that is I had a 5-gallon bucket that I filled halfway with hot water, and I added Synthropol to it, and then I would rinse 3 or 4 t-shirts in the sink, and I would drop them into the bucket of Synthropol that was sitting next to me. And once I had 3 or 4 in there, then I would go and my bucket top fit perfectly into my washer, so I could set it right on the rim and just dump it in, pour everything right into the washer, and then I would fill the bucket up again with more hot water and Synthropol and go do the next round. You kind of have to count how many shirts that you're putting in there. I could usually dump into my washer 3 times before the water level came up to the door level. So I prefer a top load washer just because you can open things up and check and adjust things, but a front load washer does work. The ones that I'm not too sure about are the high efficiency washers that use way less water. As far as what I know, the hot water is what helps release the excess dyes that haven't bonded. So soaking in the water is going to be what encourages the dye to leave. So if a high efficiency washer doesn't have much water in it, I'm not sure how well that works. I haven't seen one in action. I haven't heard from anybody that does tie-dye with them, so I don't know about high efficiency. But front load should be fine. You just have to have that extra step and carry that bucket of water around. Okay. Yes, you can use chalk at least. Chalk. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I just happen to find these crayons and they work, but yeah, anything that will draw on there that's going to get washed away works perfect. I use Ph Detergent, I quite like it, but I've never used Synthropol. Yeah, Synthropol is just what I've always used myself. From the beginning when I started with Dharma, I used their soap and I've always liked it, so I just keep working with it. And it looks like somebody else is answering in there about the front load washer, so whoever had the question, you can read their answer too. I love that people are trying to help out and answer some of these questions. What colors do mix? The best thing to do is to have a color wheel. I don't have mine handy, but it just shows the colors of the rainbow. And usually, on the cool side, you can mix, your purple, your blue, your green, those kind of together. But you can't mix like purple with orange. Well, you can, but you get brown. So, but I like to use contrasting colors in my dyes. So what colors you mix or what colors you put together on a t-shirt, it's going to be variable just depending on each dyer, and even some of the customers, have their own preferences. Okay, so I got my heart tied up here, so I'm going to tie it off just like I normally would with the white one. Okay, yeah, so I don't know what more I can tell you about what colors to mix or do mix. Like I say, a color wheel is going to be quite handy, and even just looking at some other, if you go onto Facebook and look at some of the tie-dye pages, you can just look at somebody else's work and kind of see what colors they're using together. And I did do a color mixing video live, I don't know if it was last week or the week before. My weeks are kind of running together now. But I showed how I mix colors just kind of on the fly. Like if I wanted a brown, I showed mixing with the orange and the purple, or the green and orange. But I mixed up a whole bunch of different colors on the fly, and that's something you can do. If you get the primary colors, you can mix your secondary colors from there. So I don't know if that's the question you're asking, but see, do you have to use urea when mixing liquid dyes to be able to store them longer than one use? No, the urea is not required. What it does is it's a wetting agent, so it's going to help keep your dyes wet longer while they batch. So if you live in a hot, dry climate, that's going to be helpful. But also just putting them into a tub with a lid or a plastic bag is going to keep them wet. The other thing the urea does is it helps to mix more liquid or more powder into your liquid. So I use it like especially for my black dyes because I'm mixing twice as much powder in than any other color. So I use urea in my black, but it's not required for tie-dye. You can mix them with just plain water and just go for it that way. Texturing helps a lot with the washer. Let's see. I like the sun tap and the snow tap too. Oh, thank you. Gwen bumped the bidding up to 70. If you don't have a color wheel on hand, you have an iPhone. Okay, yeah, you can find a color wheel even online and just look at a picture of it. You don't have to have one handy there, but that's a great idea about using the logo online for the iPhone. Still can't find kite string here. That is a tiny amount for. Oh, yeah. I would say if you can't find kite string, another thing that I've used, it's not quite as strong, but I've used embroidery string, and I've also used dental floss. So I think the main thing is just to find something, some sort of a string or twine or something that's decent priced. And of course not too thick. You don't want it to be soaking up a bunch of your dye because that might move it around. But yeah, I find this here at Ace Hardware, but that's here in the US. But I have used the embroidery string and that did work, and dental floss, it worked too. So there are other options out there. Video. See, what do you use? For what is used salt and tie-dye? I'm quite new to tie-dye. Salt is used, I know in low water immersion dyeing, they use salt in the mix, and the salt is supposed to help push the dye particles out of the water and into the fabric. So that's the basic premise of why I would add salt to my dyes, is that it would just help push more of the dye into the fabric. And on the Dharma website they say that the Glauber's salt will help improve the brightness of your turquoise. So, and then I've also heard that it's really handy for the black. So I don't have any hard concrete evidence on salt working, but I do use it, and I've really come to like the color of my black, how it comes out. So I don't know for sure if that's due to the salt or just how strong I mix it and the fact that I use 3 different colors of black in mine. But salt is definitely an optional thing. It's not required. With these Procyon dyes, you can mix them with just plain water, and then the only other thing that you really need is to soak your t-shirts in soda ash, because the soda ash is what activates them. So, but other than that, you can use just dye powder, water, and soda ash and a cotton t-shirt, and you can do tie-dye. Okay, so I tied up the heart, and now I'm just kind of tying up some spirals here just so I can add some more patterning on the rest of this tapestry here. And let's see. We have the bidding up at $80 from Kirsten, so thank you for that. Let's see. Let me get back here. I ordered mine online through Amazon. I'm in North Carolina, USA. 12-pack for 20-ish. Yeah. I've ordered some on Amazon, but lately I've been liking the stuff from Ace Hardware, so that's where I get mine. But yeah, just any kind of a string that you can find that's kind of sturdy. I mean, you're not pulling real tight with this, so it doesn't need to be super strong like sinew or anything. But yeah, finding some that's a decent price, because I do use a lot of kite string. So if it's really expensive, then that just kind of eats into your budget, that you'd rather be spending it on dyes or white stuff rather than tying your kite string. Okay. Let's see what else is going on here. How much Synthropol do you use per load? How fast do you go through it? I don't have an exact measurement. I put my Synthropol into a squeeze bottle like this here, and I'll do a good long squirt. So I just tip it over in the washer, and I do probably like a 20-second squirt into the washer for my first load, because that's the one where you have the most dye particles floating around. And the next two, I just do a little smaller squirt. I've seen some places they say, you know, a cap full is what you need. I've seen different things. For me, I just do a heavy squirt in there. And the main thing I like to see is that while it's washing, there's at least a few suds on top of the water. I mean, I'm not looking for a full-on bubble bath. I just want a few suds in there. So if after the washer has started, I check the water and there's no suds at all, I'll just squirt just a little bit more Synthropol in there. And let's see, what was the other question that you asked? That was a 2-point question. Oh, and how fast do you go through it? Well, I buy it by the gallon jug, so it takes me a while to go through a full jug of it. So it really is relative to how much tie-dye you do. Okay, so now we have this all tied up here. I left the heart loose because I'm going to want to kind of open that up to make sure that I get down in there with this stuff. Let me just check to see what else we have going on in the chat room before I start this. And we have, I'll scroll back down and check, but right now I see a $80 bid from Kirsten. And then I'm going to check as I scroll down to see what else we have. What went wrong if one side of your dye is lighter than the other, not wet enough? Are you talking about the t-shirt, like one half of your t-shirt is lighter than the other half of your t-shirt? If that's the case, sometimes if you fold straight in half, if you fold your t-shirt straight in half this way, then you have fabric in between, you know, the other side has more layers of fabric in between there. So that's why what I do to center my t-shirts or fold them in half is I tuck one sleeve into the other, and then that puts the front and the backs of your t-shirt together, and that makes it more even across side to side. So I hope that answered your question there. Let's see. I use dental floss from the dollar store for hand sewing patterns to tie-dye. It works well in most fabric, but best to, yeah, okay, yep. Let's see. Use any salt and how much should be used? I think I use 1 tablespoon when I'm mixing 16 ounces of dye. I usually mix mine up 32 ounces at a time, so I put 2 tablespoons, or maybe a tablespoon and a half in there. And let's see, I recommend the Glauber salt. That's what I use. I buy mine off of Amazon, but I have heard that just regular table salt is best to have the non-iodized table salt. But yes, I think any salt is going to help with your project. But the Glauber salt is the one specifically mentioned by Dharma site, so that's why I use that one. What is the benefits of folding dry t-shirts versus damp? For me, I think it's just about when I have a dry t-shirt, if I'm doing little tight accordion folds, they don't want to stay together as nicely as when I'm doing, you know, if I'm just doing just a straight pleat, that's not bad. But if you're doing, you know, like around a heart or something, damp fabric is going to kind of stay creased a little bit there, so you don't have to hold on to it all the time. Dry fabric, I feel like, you know, once I get to the rest of the t-shirt, I'm trying to brace it against myself and hold everything before I start wrapping it together. So that's the one main thing, is just makes folding easier. And then if the fabric is just slightly damp, then when you put your dyes on, the dyes soak right in. If I let my some of my Mandela stuff, more layers, I'll tie those damp and then I let them sit until they dry. But then before I actually start dyeing them, I'll spray them with a bottle of soda ash water just to kind of wet the top a little bit, because sometimes you put the dye on, it wants to roll off or roll around rather than soak right in. So the dry or the damp fabric is going to help the dye just soak right in. So that's why I prefer to dye mine when they're damp. Let's see. Oh, hey Eddie, nice to see you. Yep, we're just getting started here. I just folded up this heart and did a couple spirals, and then I'm just getting ready to show you how I use the Decolorant. And this is a product that I found on Dharma, and I also found it on Amazon. It came just in a little bottle, but it's a Jacquard product, and I've been playing with it for a while and liking it. But that's how I do these hearts that I turn around then and dye pink. So that's what we're doing a demo of here, is a pink heart on this piece of fabric. So I'm glad you made it. Ballpoint needle needed on knits so you don't poke a hole in the knit. Yes, I've been using the ballpoint needles. Also, they don't stab into your finger quite as deeply. When we say salt, are we talking table salt? Like I say, I use Glauber's salt. If you look that up, it's on Dharma. You can find that. I found a Glauber salt on Amazon. But yes, some people do use table salt. The non-iodized is going to be better, just because it, is not going to have anything else in there. You don't need anything interfering with your dyeing. Now it looks like I'm a little bit behind, so I'm going to try to scroll quickly. I think our bidding was sitting, Kirsten, I think, is at 80 is our top bid still. And I'm going to scroll down and then we're going to get started putting some stuff on here. I must admit, I'm new to kite string and clumsy. I get frustrated, but when I unfold dyed products, it's all worth it. I'll get there. Yes, you will. Yeah, it just takes time with that. The more that I worked with it, the more I fell in love with it. And I used to use just straight rubber bands for all I did, and then I learned about sinew, and I kind of added sinew in. But once I learned about kite string, it's like I kind of stopped using rubber bands almost entirely, just because I really like how the kite string works. And it allows me to kind of adjust the tension in different areas on my thing, or that I can tie part of it up, and So anyways, I'm a big kite string fan. I get it from Ace Hardware. But rubber bands, there's all different kinds of methods, and you just need to find what works the best for you. Okay. Back side of the dress is lighter than other. Okay, that's if the back side is lighter, once again, that could be from folding it in half. So it's folded into the middle. This here is the front of the T on both sides. So that means the back has 2 layers of fabric over top of it. So a little bit better saturation can even that out, but also folding it in half by tucking one sleeve into the other is going to help solve that issue also. It just helps even everything out. When I do a reverse dye, there's no... It's rubbish. I don't understand that, Saucy. When I do a reverse dye, it's a no, just rubbish. Are you meaning that it doesn't come out? Yeah, I don't know what you mean there, but we're going to go on here. Now we're just sitting here with Dharma and Amazon open as we learn to add to our list. Keeps costing us money. Yes, I've acquired stuff over a long period of time. I just keep adding to it. I've been doing it for 20 years, so I just keep getting new toys to play with. When trying to keep white parts white, do you suggest applying just water to those areas, or is there something else that would work better? The only thing that would work better would be thickened water, because it's going to hold the space even more so over the thinner dyes. But just plain water should work. And then also, sometimes you guys have seen me with a rag. If you're definitely wanting to hold some white space, you can put your dye on here if you have a white space, and just kind of soak up some of the excess dye out of there just by pressing. Make sure it's a clean dry rag though, and that way if you have less dye in your shirt, it's not going to then spread into your white area. So that's another way of doing it. But yes, just putting some plain water or thick water in that area is going to help hold space, because the dye, the liquid, is just wanting to equalize within the fabric. So if you have part of it really wet and part of it really dry, then it's all going to try to spread into that really dry area to equalize that. So that's why the plain water kind of helps hold space. Glad you made it. Yes, everybody needs a break. Hello, Rainbow Warriors. Yes, all my Rainbow Warriors out there. I'm currently working on a t-shirt design, and I'm going to try to get a sample of that made up and put it out there and see if everybody likes it or not. I missed tie-dye, had to break up scraps between mums. Oh, yep, those things happen. Yeah, the folding the sleeve thing. Well, I'll show that later. I'm going to do another T-shirt later, but I want to get started on this here. So, anyways, this stuff here is kind of a really thick gel. It doesn't go on like dye does. It's just kind of a thick, goopy stuff. It also is kind of smelly, so you want to open your windows up when you're doing this. And then what I do is I just kind of paint it on here and kind of try to dab it down into the spots there. And every place that has this stuff on there is where the dye is going to release from. But what actually causes the release is heat. So what I did was well, I tried, doing an iron. I tried a heat gun, hair dryer and stuff. But the way that I found that I like the best is I bought an old rice steamer. I just went down to Goodwill and I found one for like 10 bucks. And that's what I use. I got it around here someplace. Okay, vegetable steamer, not a rice steamer. But anyways, it's a kitchen appliance that makes steam. And I just put these in there. So once I get this coated, then we're going to put this aside, put this in the steamer outside, and then I'm going to work on the peace sign. And I think at that point I'll close out the bidding. So let me take a quick peek. I think right now we still have the top bid, $80 from Kirsten. And that's for the flag fold. Yes. Kirsten Crossman, it's $158. She bid, what did I just say? $80. Is that what I said? Yes, right there. $80 is the high bid on the flag fold. I'm going to scroll back down and see if I can get caught up here. And the main thing when you're working on this here, you want to be careful that you don't splash this stuff in other areas or drag your tapestry through that, because any area that has this stuff on it is going to release when you put it in the steamer. But the other nice thing though is if you get this on other things, you can just wash it right out. It's not going to remove color until you actually steam it. So I just flip it around, like say, just to try to get it down into the cracks and stuff. That's why I left the heart open, so that I could just kind of get in there and paint this around. It's not the most convenient. I like, the bleach, you can just pour it on and it just goes everywhere, but I like the fact that I don't have to neutralize this. I steam this and then I can just rinse it right out, and then I add my soda ash in, and then I add my dye, and it's ready to go. So that's one of the things I like about this product. But like I say, it doesn't flow like dye because it's kind of a thick gel, so it doesn't work in all instances, all designs here. But for some designs, it's just a matter of figuring out how to make it work for you. So I just kind of move this around, open all these cracks up, and just paint that down in there. And just flip flip back and forth just to make sure that I can see that every place is wet down in there. And if I have a couple little black spots, that's always nice to have a little bit of patterning that shows up. I take that as the universe contributing. So let's see what we got going on here. Let's see. Like a members logo? Yes, for Rainbow Warriors. See, purple and orange with question mark. That is going to make brown, and I do love the color brown, but you can also lay them down. I do have a laying color video where I lay orange and purple next to each other with very minimal brown, so you can check out that video if you want to learn how to lay those together without them mixing. But they do make a really nice brown. How about some Pride designs for this month? Yes, I'm going to be doing a bunch of rainbows for this month. That's what I plan on putting the logo on. The Rainbow Warriors is onto rainbow tees. And yes, I could do a Pride design like the rainbow stripes. I'll think up something and maybe do one of those up either as a regular video and post it. Maybe on live video. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, let me see if I can scroll down to the bottom here. I would be lynched if I used a steamer for tie-dye. You have to. I have a separate one just for tie-dye. Yeah, you don't want to use your cooker one because, like I say, this is stinky stuff here. Let's see. Oh, hey Lois, nice to see you. I'm glad you made it. Let's see. I'm thinking, liking this more and more. Would you do a video list of products, tools you use? I'll try to make a note of that and see if I can put something together. I have just a wide variety of things. Anyone catch the name of the product he's working with? This here is called Decolorant. And I found it first off on the Dharma website. So hopefully the label is bent there. But it's Decolorant by Jacquard. And then I also found it over on Amazon. So both places carry it. And like I say, it's a thick gel. And you just paint it on with a brush. Let's see. Hi, can you explain your rinse and wash process? Water, temp, detergent, etc. Yeah, I'll do a quick explanation here, but I also have a video of washing my tie-dye where I kind of explain and I show the whole process. But basically what I do is after they've batched, I like to batch my items for 48 hours. That helps, gives the dyes more time to set up. But after the 48 hours, most of the dye is spent, so that makes your washout process just a little bit easier. So I start in the sink, I leave the items tied, and I rinse in cold water for about a minute. What this is going to do is rinse away the soda ash. The soda ash is what raises the pH, which is what activates these dyes. So before you start releasing more of these excess dyes from your fabric, you want to get rid of the soda ash. Otherwise, those dyes might just go right back into the fabric in places that you don't want. That's called backstaining. So we try to avoid backstaining. So I rinse for about a minute in the sink in cold water. And then I will turn the water up to warm. And that's when I'll either cut my string off or remove my bands or sinew, whatever I have it tied up with. I'll remove it at that point and continue the rinsing, and I just kind of rinse and squeeze. And once the water starts running semi-clear, I'm not expecting it to be completely clear because you could be there for an awful long time, but I like it to be fairly clear, and then I'll go drop it in my wash machine, which is already filled up with hot water and synthepol. The synthepol helps keep the excess dye particles suspended in the water so that they don't go in and backstain. It's also a pH neutral soap, so that also is not raising your pH, where some detergents have soda ash in them and they'll raise the pH up. and then that's where you get back staining. So the Synthropol, or the, I haven't used it myself, but some people use the Blue Dawn dish soap in the washer. It also is a pH neutral soap. So I will drop my teas in there one at a time until I have them all rinsed. I'll put in anywhere from 5 to 10 teas at a time, or tapestries. I try to fill maybe a third of the washer with fabric. I don't like to have too many in there at once. And just a second here, we got Julie wanting to ask me a question. Let's see, do you have any rituals or routines to get yourself through the waiting period? I've never been impatient, but I can hardly ever wait the full processing time. Really, what I do for that 48 hours is I try to just focus on other things. At first, it did take me a while, because if I tried something new, I wanted to see what it was. But I really like the way that the colors come out after 48 hours, especially the blacks. If I use a lot of black on something, the 48 hours, my personal opinion, really helps. And then, like I say, then the washing process is easier because the dyes are mostly spent. So you have less dye coming out, and the dye that is coming out isn't active or very active at all. So I don't have very many issues with any kind of back staining. So yeah, it's just find some other t-shirts to tie up, or watch some videos, or you could even just do something else. You could go outside and walk in the forest, but that's what I do. I also do a lot of meditation, so I try to just occupy my time when I'm not doing tie-dye, doing other things, so that I'm not focused on it, and I just set it in my mind whenever I finish dyeing something. I know that it's going to be 2 days before I wash it, so sometimes I think just the general mindset of knowing that it's going to sit there for 2 days helps me just move on with other things. So anyway, so this here is now ready. I coated both sides of the spiral, and I coated both sides of the heart. And the heart, I tried to make sure I mooshed it all the way around in there. So I need to pop outside and put this, I think I have the, yeah. So here is the topper to my steamer thing. So what I usually will do is just poke this down into the steamer, try to make sure that the areas that I left right around the heart here, I didn't put any stuff on there, so I'll have black around there. So I try to make sure that the heart doesn't flop over and give me spots there. If it happens, then I thank the universe for that, but I also try to avoid it. So what I'm going to do now is go put this outside on the steamer part of the unit, and then we're going to move on to the peace sign, and I'll come back to this. Also, I think I'm going to close out the bidding. Let me take a quick peek back here, but I think $80 from Kirsten was our, was our high bid for the flagfold tapestry. So when I come back from putting this outside, then I think we're going to go ahead and close the bidding out. So if anybody else wants to place a bid, now's the time to do that. Let's see, how bad does it smell? Worse or better than bleach? I would say it's probably about the same, but it's just a different smell. This here is like rotten eggs almost. One time I was working with it, and Julie didn't know I was working with it, and she asked me if I was feeling okay. So it's not really a pleasant smell. I usually try to open a window. I have it closed today because I don't want the noisy kids out there. So anyways, yeah, it's doable, but if you can have an open window or work outside, it's better. Yeah, and I guess it's not quite as bad as bleach, because bleach, I definitely like to do that outside. Okay, so I will be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Okay, And I think I usually steam that for anywhere from 30 minutes to 60 minutes. And I usually just kind of pop out and check it. So we'll just keep an eye on that. So let's see, it's 2:25 right now. So we'll check in on that a little later here and see how it's doing. But like I say, once I put it out there, then it steams and the color just starts coming out. So I need the pound stores. Does not. Yeah, this here is not like toxic. It's more just unpleasant smelling. Where the bleach it's a different thing. I definitely try to avoid the bleach, and I work outside with that. Or I'll have this window open and have a fan blowing it out. So this here is just stinky and just a negative way is all. You're putting lots on, or is it hard to spread? Yeah, it doesn't flow nicely. So I put lots on just to make sure that I don't have to go back and let it cool and then add more to it. So I spread it around and I kind of poke it down in there as much as I can. But yeah, it's just a thick gel, so it is just a little bit hard to get it to do anything. I've tried thinning it out, but then the effectiveness of it went down. So I use it now just in the full gel and paint it on, and I'm still playing with it, but I've had a lot of people asking about it. So I decided it was time to do a video for it. Let's see, I was also just reverse work on. Yes, I've tried this on, I think, red tea, and I did another color tea, but yes, it does work on other colors. The black is just more brilliant, you know, when you add a different color in the black, so that's why I like to play with the black, but yes, it will work on other colors too. Does reverse tie-dye work? Let's see, I'm in the UK. Okay, need to scroll down here to the bottom. I guess I'm way behind than I thought I was. Okay, you should tie-dye your beard. Nope, I'm gonna leave my beard natural. It already has a lot of colors. When I go out in the sunshine, I can see several different colors in here, and I like the one strip of gray that I have down the middle. And I'm afraid that if I tie-dyed it, that gray strip might not wash back out again, and then I would be stuck with that. So, nope, I plan on leaving my beard natural. But yes, it would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? I have seen a guy at the Oregon Country Fair, and he would tie-dye his beard in rainbow colors. Smells like perm solution. Yes, that's a good reference right there. That's what that is close to, is perm solution. Thank you, Izzy. What was the name of the low pH detergent? It's Synthropol. 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 And then the other detergent is Blue Dawn dish soap. Both of those are pH neutral, so they're not going to raise the pH, so it's not going to then reactivate the dyes. If you don't have Synthropol or Blue Dawn, I would probably opt for no soap over a detergent that might have soda ash in it. So, but I've been using Synthropol to wash my tie-dyes for 20 years. So that's just the way I do it. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm getting caught up here. Okay, Yep, so I think we're going to go ahead and close the bidding out on this one so that I can start the bidding on the Snowflake. So this here is the flag fold that we did last Wednesday. So right now the high bid is sitting at 80. So I'm going to close that out in I think 1 minute. So if you want to place the bid, now is the time to do it, and then we're going to get started on the next one. So let me take a peek here, and then we're going to close that. And then we're going to do the Peace Sign Tapestry. I did a Peace Sign t-shirt video when I first started making videos. But I've had just a few more questions about peace signs come up recently, so I decided to do it because I had some more ideas of things I can explain differently or better than I did in my original video. And plus I'll be doing it on a tapestry instead of a t-shirt. So, okay, doesn't look like we have any more bids, so we're gonna go $80 once, $80 twice, $80 three times, and sold for $80 to Kirsten. Thank you, Kirsten, very much for your bidding, and well, everybody for bidding. I will put my launch links up in here. You can either send me a message through my store or through one of my Facebook pages. There's links in there for that. And if you send me your email, I can send you an invoice. The other option is to click on the PayPal donations link and just add the $7 for the shipping in, so your total would be $87, and you could just send that directly through the PayPal link that's also in this launch links I just posted there. So, and then I will, of course, will sign your tapestry and then get it in the mail to you tomorrow. So thank you, thank you. Okay, so the next tapestry, we're gonna get this one going, and then I'm gonna start tying the peace sign up. So this here is Snowflake number 2. So I did this one again because I had a different direction I wanted to go with it. So this one here came out really cool. Got some nice colors in the middle, and then still got some of this fingery and feathery stuff here on the outer edges. I really like the look of this one. So this here is Snowflake Tapestry number 2, and it is now open for bids. So you can place your bids in the comment section. And let's see here. And then we're going to go ahead and get started on our tapestry. Okay, we have a $55 bid from Saucy Mare. Thank you. Okay, so now what I have here is a tapestry. Once again, it's the same size as the ones I usually work with here, so it's about 54 by 56 inches. We have a bid of $60 from Lisa for Snowflake Tapestry number 2. Thank you. So yes, these here are about 56 by 54 inches after they shrink. And what I have done, let's flip this over the other way, is I folded this into quarters. And mostly that was so that I could find the center spot here of the tapestry. The tapestry also was soaked in soda ash, and then it was spun out, so it's just barely damp. That's kind of my preferred method. We got a bid of $70 from Saucy Mare for the Snowflake Tapestry number 2. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm taking note of where this tag is, because I always put the tag down at the bottom of the tapestry. So when you're aligning to do your peace sign, you want to pay attention to where the bottom of your t-shirt is, or tapestry or whatever. And then what I'm going to do, I put the line on here at the middle of my tapestry, and then let's see here. I usually will just kind of freehand do a fold up here, but I thought I'd better put a line on here just so you guys can see better how far I'm going. So I'm just lining my protractor up, and then we're going to draw a line in here at 60 degrees. And that way, if somebody wants to get more precise, oh, my yardstick, I'll be right back. So if somebody's wanting to be more precise with their peace sign, with an angle, like I say, I usually just kind of freehand it, but 60 degrees is a nice angle here to put on your line. And then what we're going to do is fold this bottom up right to there. So with the peace sign, I usually do a fold up, a fold down, and a fold down. So my first fold up, we're going to, let's see if I can get things arranged here without that. Nope. Oh, Jewel Connolly, thank you for becoming a MrTieDye fan. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate all the support. Peace, love, and light to all of my supporters, well, to all of my Rainbow Warriors out there. But I just want to take note of Jewel for signing up. Thank you much. Okay. So what I do then, like I say, the tapestry is folded in half here. This here is the center line, and then I drew a 60-degree angle up here. And what then you do is just fold this up and just line the bottom edge up right on that 60-degree line. Make sure you kind of smooth everything out under there. You don't want any wrinkles, creases in here. And like I say, I don't usually draw a line on there, but I just wanted that for reference in case somebody doesn't want to try to freehand it. But that puts a good angle on there. Okay, now, so this here, I told you I do a fold up, a fold down, and a fold down with my peace sign. So that's my first fold up, and then I take this same edge that I lined up here, and now I'm going to line it up right here at this edge. And once again, I kind of smooth everything down just to make sure that I don't have any creases. Sometimes you'll get just a little bit of a crease where the fabric inside here has folded, you know, bunched over this way instead of folded over. So just give that just a quick feel to make sure that's nice and flat. So I did a fold up, fold down, and then this here's my other fold down. I'm taking the other side of the peace sign, or the flat edge, and I'm going to line it up over on this edge also. And then I reach in here and just make sure that once again everything has stayed flat in here and that I didn't buckle up any more creases. And once again, this here is the center of my tapestry, and putting a dot on there helps you then keep track of that, because if you start working off of one of these other edges here, then your peace sign isn't going to be whole. Okay, so now once I have it to that point, I'm going to draw my line on here. And I use the old string method for doing the makeshift compass. I just tie a little slip knot. And then, oh, let's do the blue line. Okay, so now what I do is I just hold this string down here at the point, however tight I want it, and then I kind of look out here. This here is the edge of my tapestry right here. So I want to have the peace sign, I want to have just a little bit of a border on there. So I'm going to come out to about there with my peace sign. So I can then stretch my string out to that point. And then just pull the string tight and make sure you keep the pin level. Yeah, I think I just buckled my finger a little bit there. So you want to just keep that string tight, and that just makes for a nice quick partial circle on there. And this here is going to be then the center of the circle of the peace sign. So just so that you guys can see these other lines that we're going to fold on here, I'm going to draw them in now. So this here is how you determine how wide you want that outer circle to be. So this here is the only line that you really need to tie in there or draw on there, because that's the one we're going to fold. But these here will just show you. So I'm going to draw this out. And I'm going to go just a couple inches above that line. And then I'm going to come down a couple inches below it. Okay, so this here is going to be the width of my peace sign in there now. Okay, let me try to peek in and see what we have going on here. And we'll check to see where the bidding was. So we got the Snowflake Tapestry number 2. It looks like Marnie Brown is at $80. And I already welcomed Jewel to the tie-dye, Mr. Tie-Dye fan, so thank you. Peace, love. I love you guys. I love you all. Let's see, not so brave to do a peace sign. Oh, maybe after this video you might be. But I'm going to make it real easy for you. Let's see. Just bought a kit yesterday. Awesome. You're going to have fun with this, but be careful. Tie-dye is quite addictive. I started doing it 20 years ago, and I haven't stopped. So you've been warned. Thank you all. I love your art. Wonderful. Thank you. Let's see. I'm not that brave yet either. Oh, you guys will be. Come on. Everyone has liked the video. I don't know, we got 75 likes on there, so I'd say a lot of people have. So thank you guys for checking in on that, because it does help boost the ratings of my videos and make them easier to be found on YouTube. So I swear he's like a human iron. I've just had lots of practice, that's all. And practice is, of course, going to, well, it's not going to make perfect. I don't consider tie-dye, I don't consider it about perfection. I just consider it about just being as good as I can be. And I guess technically that's my own personal perfection, right? I watched other tie-dye videos yesterday, but I have to say he is the very best. Oh, thank you, Doris. I think I had a lot of good training. I've been doing tie-dye school events where I go in and help tie-dye entire grade schools. And I think that trained me up perfect, because I'm used to having a bunch of kids, maybe 20, 25 kids standing around my table here. And their hands are all right here because they're all leaning on the table. I got to keep pushing them back so I can work. But they're all standing around and they're watching what I'm doing, and they're asking questions, and they're asking each other questions, and they're playing over here, and they're commenting on stuff. And so I think that practice for 16 years set me up perfect to be able to sit here, do tie-dye, run an auction, and keep up with the chat room. So I just love what I do, and I'm glad that you guys love coming here and hanging out with me on Wednesdays. I do get kind of chatty sometimes, so if I go on too long, you just slap me a little and I'll move on. I did a peace sign t-shirt on a t-shirt following one of your videos the other day. Definitely wasn't as good as yours, but I definitely love it. Awesome. I love to have people be able to have success. Just got in, made it in time. Thanks God. Love your work. Oh, thank you, Allison. And I'm glad you made it. Yep, we're working on 2 different projects. I have a reverse dyed heart that's in the process of being steamed right now. We're going to check in on that later, but we're doing a peace sign up here. So let's go ahead and get started folding. Like I say, this is the actual line that I'm going to fold, and I'm going to use a couple of these clamps on here. And what that's doing is helping hold these lines. I have 3 creases over here. I got a really thick one and then 2 thinner ones here. So this here is going to help hold, because as I'm folding this, sometimes this fabric will start walking its way back, and by the time I get over to this edge, this fabric here is sitting a couple inches from there, or sometimes one of the inner ones. But you want to make sure that these here all stay nice and straight, because this here, these creases are the legs within the peace sign. So this here is the outer circle that we're folding right now, and then this here is going to be the inner legs of the peace sign. So you don't want this coming undone here, or you're going to your peace sign is going to be misshapen. So we're going to just fold accordion folds right here, and I just, like I say, I'm being careful that I'm not pulling extra fabric. I'm just folding the fabric that's here. So sometimes what I'll do is just kind of push into this a little bit and let this raise come up here, and then I can kind of sort out how tall I want to grab of the pleat, and that also then helps make sure that you're not pulling fabric here. And the other thing you want to be aware of is right here, this here is where that inner fold, where you folded up and then you folded back down, you got this extra crease. So it's just going to get a little bit thicker right there. So you just want to be aware of that as you're folding, that you don't pull any of those creases out. And that's why putting these clips on here is just going to help hold everything into place there. And then I just try to keep all of my folds, pleats and stuff, nice and even out to the edges here, because we're eventually going to tie up this whole line right here. Okay. I cannot get mine this flat. Oh, it just takes practice. Like I say, it's just a matter of folding and smoothing things out. I'm just really used to, when I fold something up, I'm automatically checking to see if I feel a wrinkle in there. And if you do, you just reach in, flatten it out. And then, like I say, I'm doing, maybe a little bit taller than a 1/2 inch pleat here. So, and then, like I say, I'm right here at this crease where I got the thicker layer, so I'm just going to move right into that next. And I can tell that that's just a little bit more fabric to grab, so you just want to make sure that when you're grabbing these layers of fabric now, that you're grabbing all 4, you're pinching all 4 underneath there. And I can kind of feel that lift up as I'm pinching it. Bob Ross of Tie-Dye, your voice is so great to listen to, and you are the ultimate guru of tie-dyes. Thank you for teaching. Oh, thank you. I do like Bob Ross, and there was, before him, I can't remember for sure, somebody might be able to correct me, but I think Bill Anderson, he was another one of the people that did the paintings and stuff. So Bob Ross, Bill Anderson, yes, I love being compared to those guys, because they just seemed like they were just peace-loving people, and they just wanted to share their craft with other people. And that's what I want to do. I want to share this so that more people can have success. There's a lot of great dyers out there. I just happen to be set up nice and perfect to do these instructional videos. So we're going to keep going here. I'm watching you both on my TV and my laptop. My laptop is lagging, very trippy. Yeah, I have to be careful not to watch myself on the laptop here, because I'm about 10 seconds ahead of what's going on my screen here. So it does get confusing. I have to turn my volume down or I get the echo. But somebody said that I just naturally live 10 seconds in the future ahead of all of you guys. So that's a possibility too. Thanks for all the wisdom. You're welcome. I'm glad to be of help. Typing. I think I just jumped too far. Let's see. Typing on my phone but watching from my TV. Awesome. Yes, that's good to have multiple devices. It's fun seeing everybody here in the chat room and talking and helping each other or asking questions. I pause my phone but keep the live chat feeding. Yes. Thank you. He's the best. My phone isn't smart at all. Yep, I had one of those for a while. Maybe when my hand heals. Trying to do this on the bandana as you do the tapestry. Awesome. Well, I'll try to keep up with you then. So we're folding almost to the end of the line here. Like I say, I keep checking to make sure that I haven't pulled any of my creases out here. You still want to have nice 3 folds right there. Once I get to this edge here, then we're going to tie that off. Okay, so what I usually will do is I wrap this around a couple times. And it's not the same thing as sinew, but if I wrap it around 2 or 3 times, then the kite string almost cinches in where I can kind of let go of it and tie my string without trying to keep tension there. So that's another thing I like about the kite string. So I'll tie that, and then I leave this here tied. I'm going to straighten some of these creases out here. And I'm going to take this off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do an accordion fold. So I'm going to take these 3 creases here, and I'm going to fold them up and lay them just kind of even with this here. And that's going to make then the inner legs about the same width. If you wanted to make the inner legs skinnier than the outer circle, then instead of lining up right here at the circle, you would just line up further down here, meaning that you're only going to line up this much of it instead of this much, because this part here is going to be folded in half, so it's going to be double the width. That's why I'm lining up with the middle. So usually what I'll do is just, this first fold is the most tricky to get started, so I just kind of try to push down right there. Let's see if you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just pushing this down here, straightening this pleat out a little bit, and then folding that up. And then I like to go ahead and grab all of this in my hand just to make sure that I'm not losing any of these creases in there, and that way I can kind of hold on to all of that and then just feed that out as I'm doing my pleats. So I'm doing about the same height of pleats. I'll let it go here in just a second. So I'm doing this about the same height. These I think are a little bit taller, but I'm lining them up with this middle line, the blue one that we drew here. Okay. It'd be easier if you could fold for me. Yes, I've heard that a lot. It feels like really about learning how to work with fabric almost more than how to actually dye. Yes, that's a big part of tie-dyeing is the actual folding part. If you can get that down, then the dyeing, I'm not going to say that it's any less important, but I think they're about equally important. You have to have a good fold, and then you have to have a good dye application, as well as a good dye, because there's some dyes out there that just aren't as good as the Procyon dyes are. So, okay. Oh, we got another new sign up, a huge MrTieDye fan, Madison Babs. Thank you for signing up. Peace, love, and light out to you. I appreciate all the supporters of my channel, whether you're becoming a member or you're donating through my PayPal. It's very much appreciated and definitely helps me be able to keep making more of these videos. Carl, we are the kids. Yes, you are. That's what I consider. My crowd out here in my chat room, I consider you guys just to be all the kids sitting around my table. Nice that you teach kids a talent. They need inspiration. Yes, I love working with the kids. Do you have something that resists the dye? Like if you want drawing of a design you don't want dyed. That would be getting into batik. I haven't actually done it yet, but I've had several people on the different tie-dye pages. They will show designs that they do with the batik. So they're actually putting wax down. So sometimes they will draw out their design and then they'll put wax over top of it, and the wax soaks into the fabric and then resists the dye. I've also seen the batik where they'll put a bunch of wax down and then they will crumple the fabric, which puts cracks in the wax, and then some dye is able to seep in. So eventually I'm going to try batiking, but I haven't done it yet. But that would be the one thing. I've heard some people use Elmer's glue, but then I've also heard people have lots of issues with trying to get it washed out. So I haven't played with the glue yet either. But I don't have an actual resist that I've done anything with so far. Okay, so now I have my peace sign folded here. So now I'm going to get it tied up. So this here string is already tied to here, so I'm just going to wrap it under, and I'm going to bring it right down, so I'm lining it up with my orange line down here. And then I'm just tying all the way along here, just getting this whole section dyed, and then we're going to wrap up over onto this other side. Take that clip off. Okay, so I just kind of arrange my pleats a little bit down in here. Get them nice and even again. And then we're going to wrap this all the way up to this outer side. Like I say, these two orange lines, you didn't need to draw those on. I just wanted you to be able to see the process of what we're actually working with. So the orange lines are what made the whole outer circle. And then this part here we folded in the center. And since this here is folded in half, then this is going to open up just as wide, so the inner lines are going to be just as wide as the outer circle here. And if you wanted to make the inner line skinnier, then instead of lining them up here, you would line up a little bit further back here. Or the other thing you could do is, instead of going to the orange line here, you could tie the orange line off right here, and that would make then the inner line, or no, I guess no, you still need that outer line there because that's the full circle. Anyways, yeah, so you would just line this up a little bit further back, and that would make skinnier lines. Enough about that. Okay. It's kind of like drawing something with wax. Yes, that's what the batik would be doing, is drawing on with wax. And I've seen some people that they will actually maybe use thick dye and paint part of their design on, and then they go over that with the wax so that it holds that color in there when they dye the rest of it. And you can make some really fancy designs between putting your painted dyes on and then covering it with wax, and then painting another color on and covering that with wax. Eventually I'm going to get to it. I just haven't done it yet, and who knows, maybe that'll be another topic for one of these live videos at some point. Thick water holds space. Yes. It basically holds space because when part of the fabric is dry and part of it is wet, the wet part wants to soak into the dry part. So if you put plain water on here, then this here water or dye is not going to try to creep over here into this section here if everything is kind of equally wet. What if you use Elmer's glue? Okay, yep. It's supposed to wash out. The main thing about the Elmer's glue, I've heard, is not to use hot water until you have all of the glue out. I think that's where people run into issues, is that they have used hot water and then that somehow has set the glue from washing out. So, but I still, once again, I haven't tried it myself, so I can't answer too many questions on that, just what I've seen other dyers talk about. I didn't get what you said about the fabric piece between the leg edge with the clips on it. That was mostly about holding these three folds over here. That's why I put the clips on. And then I lined, this here is the legs on the inside of the peace sign, and I lined them up even with the center of the outer circle here. So that's going to make them the same width. If you want them skinnier, then instead of lining up with the center line, you would line them up further back here, and that would make skinnier lines in the middle. So I hope that answered your question. Okay. Will you try batik? Yes, at some point I will. It looks like we have another bid. Kirsten, 85 for the Snowflake Tapestry number 2. The auction today is the Snowflake Tapestry right here, and right now the high bid is at 85. And then also in the LaunchLinks you can see the full tapestry here, but this is the one that we did last Wednesday. We already auctioned off the flag fold, so but this here is the Snowflake number 2. Okay. Carl, what tapestry is up for auction now? Oh, it's the Snowflake, so you probably just saw that. I was just 10 seconds ahead in the future, so I precognized your question and answered it there. Hey sis, how you doing? I've seen that Mom was in the chat room too earlier. So yes, my family, they live in Pendleton, Oregon, and due to the shutdown, lockdown, or whatever, I haven't been back to Pendleton since, I think, last Thanksgiving. Or did we make it home? I don't know. It's been a while since we've been home. So anyways, they're joining me for these live videos. Well, let's see, what else do we got going on here? Okay, we have 90 for the Snowflake Tapestry number 2. From Michelle Sykes. That's my sister. Yep, Saucy, that's right above you. Michelle Sykes, that's my sis. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm all caught up on questions right now. So we're going to finish wrapping this up, and then, let's see, I think I'm going to pop out and see what my reverse dyed heart looks like. If that's good, then we'll bring that in so that we can get some dye put on it too. I think we're just about done here with the peace sign. And that's the main thing for me, the peace sign. You just need to make sure that you have all of your edges in here. If the edges aren't all in there, then that's going to make it look wonky on the inside. And then the other thing is just keeping everything nice and straight. And like I say, I tied straight across on here. Even though my orange line kind of went up here, that's where it's going to connect in with the rest of the lines. But I tie straight across. If you tie it at an angle, then that makes it kind of wonky too. So you just want to make sure that your lines are going nice and straight across here, and that you have all your folds there. Those are the, I think, a couple of the most important parts of this fold here. Let's see. All this precognition. Yep. I live in the future, so that makes my precognition easier. Still here, just enjoying watching you. Oh, yep. Hi, Mom. Good. Glad to see you. I even made my camera angle a little bit higher so you can see my face. And Julie braided my beard up so that you can see my face. Let's see. Okay, while you guys are chatting, I'm going to go out and check on the heart. If it looks good, I'm going to bring it in. If not, I'll leave it to steam a little bit longer. And then we'll get some dye put on these. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to need to steam this a little bit longer, but I did notice that I missed some spots on here. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more while this here continues to steam out there. But the rest of it, the color's coming out nicely here. But that's is a nice thing. I mean, it's a little bit of a pain to have to come back and add more, but this here is much easier to just add a little bit more decolorant on. And it doesn't always come all the way out when I do this color, but it should lighten up a little bit. So that's the one thing about this product, is sometimes there are just little variables that you just have to go with, and sometimes it might be something like this here where there's an extra spot, and maybe for whatever reason that little extra spot is supposed to be there. But I do like that I can kind of touch up a little bit more and see if I can get that to come out. Okay, so I think we're going to call that good and put that back out there. And let me take a peek to see what's going on. Looks like we have a lot of chat going on. My family meeting everybody. Have you tried the ripple dyeing? I've seen a few, and my fingers crossed you had a video, because I like watch your videos. I do not have a video for the ripple, and I won't be making one. That design was figured out by Josh Shep. He's an excellent tie-dye artist. I love his work, and he has that for sale over on his Etsy page called Push Rainbows. So you can buy it there. I love to support other artists. So he is selling that tutorial. So I purchased it and I used it, but I will not be making a video because out of respect for another artist, that just wouldn't be fair to him. So, but yes, go check out Josh's store and consider buying the ripple if you want to learn how to dye, excuse me, dye that one. Yes, I did say my mom was on. She's there. I think you guys already had in the chat. I'm probably behind on the conversation here. Oh, I'm glad, Mom. Yes, we're going to try to make it home at some point soon, but we're waiting for all this shutdown stuff to be done. A legend. Yeah, we have friends who live in Pendleton. Thanks, Carl. Fam, for bringing such a great person into the YouTube world. I miss Oregon. Oh, wonderful. Maxine is mom. Yes, the ripple pattern is available on Etsy. Okay, thank you, Emily. I appreciate you answering that question. Maxine is my middle name. Yes, Saucy Legend is much better. Is your sis talented as well? Oh, I think everybody is talented in some way. I'm the only one in the family that does tie-dye, though. Let's see. Okay, well, let me go put this outside, and I'll come back and see if I can catch up. Okay, so next thing, I think while we're waiting on that to finish steaming, I'm going to go ahead and start putting some dye on this peace sign. So let's see, what am I bleaching with? This here is not bleach, it's called Decolorant, and I found it on Dharma website, and I also found it on Amazon. It's a Jacquard product, and with this here, you brush it on. It's kind of a thick gel, and then you steam it to remove the color. And then after that, all I have to do is rinse it, and then I can add soda ash and put my dyes on. I don't have to neutralize anything. So that's one of the nice things I like about this product. Yeah, the reverse dye videos that I made, those were with either bleach or the toilet bowl cleaner, which is kind of a thick gel, but it's got the bleach in it. But those, all of those, the bleach in that product, you have to neutralize afterwards, and it doesn't always go to white. I like that this here, if I bleach it long or steam it long enough, it goes to white, and then I can add any color in. And like I say, we're going to put pink into that heart there. Can you tie-dye a unicorn? I have done that in the past. I did it as a stitched design. Let's see. If you leave the bleach neat, it can ruin it. There are other ways to ruin with bleach, but also a good thing can be done with bleach. Yes, yeah, like I say, the bleach is good. I know a lot of people use it. For me, I just didn't like the hassle of having to test how long I can leave it on there without it creating a hole in there. So I always had mine mixed at 50%. So anyways, the other product that I'm going to be trying at some point, and I'll probably do it on here, is the RIT color remover. So I did buy a couple of boxes of that, but I haven't tried it yet. So that'll be another one that I'm going to make into a reverse video. Okay, so let's start putting some color on here. I'm going to break out one of my towels here just because this, put a clean dry towel under here, and that kind of helps soak whatever liquid is left in here, which is the soda ash, down into the towel as I'm putting the dyes on. So that's one good reason. And also it'll catch little drips, because sometimes I get carried away and I move my stuff around and I pick up those little drips. So sometimes it's nice to have it on a clean dry towel here. Let's see if I can catch up. I think the bid was still sitting at $90 from Michelle. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you liked the video on the bleach. Yeah, I just tried to show different methods that it could be done, just to give people an idea of how to work with it. Good, but they won't hold still. Oh. Sheep. Yes, I'm the rainbow sheep. But I've had full support from my family from the start of my tie-dye career. I've been doing this for 20 years, and my mom has been wearing tie-dye for 20 years. As well as the rest of my family. I love watching your videos. I just started watching them, and you're the only one who is thorough with their instructions. I tried making a tire track, but I think I did it wrong, but it's good. Yes, well, see, then if you did it wrong and you can see that, then you can more than likely tweak it and do it differently the next time. So sometimes it's not about right or wrong, it's just about whether you got what you wanted or not. And sometimes you can have something come out not how you wanted it, but somebody still loves it. So I don't know that there's any rights or wrongs in tie-dye, just different ways. And that's what I try to do, just show you how I do it. But there's lots of different ways to do tie-dye, and lots of different artists do it in all different ways. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is continue my orange line out here just for visual effect. This here is the outer line, so we're not going to put dye on this center line now. This here is the middle of my tapestry, so we're not using that one. We're using these two outer lines. This here is the actual circle then of the peace sign. And I'm going to outline mine with black. It's not necessary, but that's just how I like to do mine. So I'm using thick black dye here, and then the rest of my colors are just regular dyes. They're not thickened in any way. So, but I'm going to outline mine with the thick black dye. Okay, and then we're going to poke that in a little bit. I use a cuticle pusher just to kind of help speed up this process, because this thick dye takes longer to soak in, and it only soaks in so far. So the cuticle pusher speeds the process and pushes it a little deeper into the fabric. And since we have so many layers with this peace sign, I want to make sure that I get a nice even line. So that's why I use the cuticle pusher. Okay. Can't find pushing rainbows on Etsy. It's I think it's just push rainbows. Have you tried the ice method? Not with this here, but I have done some ice dyeing. It's something I've been playing with for probably maybe 8 years, 9 years or so. That I've been playing with the ice dye, but I've done primarily liquid dyes. But I have been having fun with the ice dyes, and I do have a few different live videos that I did the ice dyes, and I did the incline dyes with the ice videos. So that's how the Snowflake Tapestry that's up for auction, that one was an ice dye, as well as the flag fold. And the Snowflake was an incline, which means I put it on, instead of having it lay flat, I put it on an angle like this here, so as the dyes melted, or the ice melted, it dripped and then ran, and it just gives these interesting little finger effects. Okay, so I'm trying to catch up on the questions here. You guys are chatting a lot, and I'm struggling to keep up, but we'll do it. I might miss some questions, so if I didn't get your question answered, you might ask it again down in there. I just started watching, so I'm a little behind on the videos. Oh yeah, yeah. If you just started watching, you're behind. I have probably close to 200 or more videos on YouTube now. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years now, and just having a lot of fun. But a lot of these, you don't have to watch them in succession. I mean, there's a couple of in my beginners playlist that shows you how to the different processes and stuff. But then after that, pretty much most of them you should be able to pick up and try them. Some of them are harder than others, but you can try just about any one of the videos at any level. Let's see. Saucy Merrick's got a kid from How much thick dye do you make at a time? Now I just make just maybe a cupful or a pint or so. I don't make very much because I've kind of slowed down. I used to use a lot of the thick dye when I was doing the stitch designs, but I had injured my wrist last year, and the stitch designs just take longer to do, and just the way that I have to hold my wrist for so long, it aggravates my wrist, so I don't do as many of the stitch designs. So of course I haven't been doing as many orders, because that's what primarily my orders were the stitch designs. So when I cut those out, then I stopped using as much as the thick dye, and then I found out that over time it does start to smell and go bad. So after pouring a couple batches of the thick dye down the drain, I stopped making quite so much. So I make it for my thick black dye, and then if I'm doing a different project where I need it, then I'll mix up another little cup. But I used to mix up a half a gallon at a time, and now that's just way too much. Let's see. What's your favorite strain? When are you gonna sell your towels? You could market that. Tie-dye is going to the next interior design fad for the COVID jet set. Yes, I love that. Yeah, the towels, these just randomly get dyed on them as I'm working. So I did have one person buy one, and then it got lost in the mail. And I was hoping that it was going to make its way back to me so that I could send it out to him, but it hasn't. So I will probably just pick another one of my towels and send it out to him. So I'll have to kind of look at all my towels and see which ones look the coolest. But I did at one point, I tie-dyed some towels, but I had to put a higher price tag on them because of the amount of dye that they soak up. So when I was intentionally dyeing them, they soak up a lot of dye, and then of course I wasn't able to sell them for the price that I wanted, so I stopped doing the towels, and I just kind of kept the towels for my own purposes. We use them for sitting outside, and we now have beautiful chair covers. So I'm just drawing these lines on the back side. Usually I do this before I start dyeing, but it's easy enough to see where my lines are on the other side and put them on here. And hold on just a second. Julie, the mailman, is here. So I love living across from the mailboxes here, because then when I package stuff up, I don't even have to run out to the post office. I can just run out and hand it to the postman there. So we have more tie-dye going out across the world. Well, actually, I guess this is just going up to Vancouver, Washington. But okay, so once again, we're going to tie-dye these. Like I say, we're doing just the outer channel here. We're not doing that center line we folded, which is why I didn't draw it on here. That was just my fold line. So we're going to put the same thick dye on, and I'll push it in as I answer some more questions here. Okay. I know you use Dharma products. You consider Tulip to be a good brand. I've seen lots of people use Tulip. A lot of times it's kind of a starting place. People get started with the Tulip dyes, but then they want brighter colors or darker colors. And the only thing that I can recommend then from that is to move into the Dharma products. So the Tulip dyes, I think maybe is a good place for people to start if they just want to try it out before they buy the more expensive products. But it doesn't really compare the kind of results that you get. And then also the Tulip dyes, I've heard you have to use those right after you mix them. So I like to have my dyes from Dharma because I can mix this up and then have them sit around for 2 or 3 weeks and still be able to sit down and use them without having to mix dye every time I want to do tie-dye. So that's all I'm going to say about the Tulip dyes. They're just don't match the quality of this, but if you're just doing it for fun, and I mean, some people, they like the lighter tones, so if that's what you like, I say go for it. Use the Tulip. I would probably use Tulip before I would use the RIT dyes. The RIT is good for I think other purposes, but for tie-dye it just isn't the same, isn't the right product. Anyways, we're not going to get into all of that. I like the Dharma products, so that's what I use. Where do you get your blank tapestries? I buy them from sunshinejoy.com. So you put that into your search bar. When you get over to their website, there'll be one of the tabs at the top that says tapestries. And if you click on that, then one of the options is the blank white tapestries. And they usually have, I think right now, they have 3 or 4 sizes in. Before we had this whole shutdown, I think they had 6 to 8 different sizes of blank white tapestries. And I like them because it's a nice weight tapestry, and they all come with the edges sewn, and 2 edges are the selvage edges, and then there's little loops in the corners for hanging. So yes, I like that. And then if I want bigger tapestries, I will buy the queen size or full size flat sheets from Target online. And the ones I've been buying have been just the 300 thread count, and the brand name is called Threshold. I think it's just a Target brand. And those dye up nicely, but of course the more thread count you have, then the nicer the fabric is, but the 300 was nice. So that's what I use. You make it look so easy. You should get free dye from Dharma because you get us to buy so much expensive dye and we mess up and buy. Yeah, it would be nice to be sponsored, but I understand Dharma's business. But yes, if you guys want to sponsor me, woohoo, I'm right here. So anyways, I think that Tulip is good for starting out. Yep, I agree. I'm in one of your videos, You say you can make black by mixing fuchsia and turquoise. Is that a warm purple black? I don't know if I said that we could make black. I know that you can add just a little bit of fuchsia to turquoise and it darkens up into a dark blue, and then if you add more, then it goes into a purple. Technically, if you mix all three of the colors, the fuchsia, the yellow, and the turquoise, in the exact right amount, supposedly you're supposed to be able to make black, but I haven't even tried to do that. I know sometimes people will do ice dyes in the muck, and the mixture of all of the different colors then will make kind of a black dye in there. But yeah, I do think it leans, into the purple tones. It's not a good solid black. I use 3 different colors of black in my dye. So I bought New Black, Better Black, and Raven Black from Dharma, and I tried them all individually, and they're all good dyes, but they have an edge on them that bleeds out, into the blue or to a green or something. So I one time decided to try mixing all 3 of the dyes into one bottle at a time. So I just scooped some out of each, blended it up, and I really liked how it came out. So I just poured all 3 of my black dyes in together, and that's what I make my black dyes from. What time did you start on Wednesday, and what time zone are you in? I'm in Central, 5:20 p.m. here, so I can schedule and watch on Wednesday. Okay, I'm on the Pacific daylight time. That's the West Coast. So right now it's 3:27, but I start at 1:30. So we've been going for 2 hours now. So I'm going to try to speed up because I did want to do one more t-shirt here, and I still got to get the heart in there. So I'm going to go ahead and add my turquoise dye. What I usually will do is kind of start back from the line a little bit and just let it spread when I'm laying my colors down like this. So let's see if I can answer some more questions here as I'm dyeing this. Mix your dyes. You mix your dyes after they're mixed up. Well, what I meant by that is the dye powder. So I take the different dye powders. So this here says Better Black on it, but inside this jar there's 3 different dye powders: Better Black, New Black, and Raven Black. And then I use this here to scoop into my cup and mix the liquid dye then. You get the pants from Sunshine Joy. No, usually the pants that I've tie-dyed, I've found, I think, all of those at some sort of a thrift store. So here in Corvallis, we have Goodwill, and we have the Cat's Meow, and there's one more that's escaping me. But anyways, I go in and just look for any light-colored pants. They don't have to be white. I've had some that were kind of a light tan, and another pair that was a light blue that I was able to dye. You can add darker colors to them. So if they're a light blue and I add yellow, the yellow is going to have just a slight greenish tinge to it, but it's still going to look mostly yellow if the blue is light enough. But I usually just find ones that fit me and dye them up. And if somebody else wants me to dye a pair for them, I usually have them find a pair that fits them good and send them to me, and then I'll dye them. Let's see. Okay, and let me do a quick check here to see. I think we're still sitting at 90 for the tapestry, for the Snowflake #2 tapestry. If I am incorrect, if somebody else has bid higher than 90, please let me know. I'm scrolling up right now, so I can't see the current bids. I'm scrolling back to see the past bid. Yes, so we have Michelle Sykes at 90 for the Snowflake Tapestry right now. And as I scroll down, I'll look for more bids, but I don't think there are any. Okay. this over and get some dye put on the other side. Well, in fact, let's see. I'm going to get another towel out here so we can flip it back and forth. So I'm going to put my turquoise on here. Oh, I didn't leave my white space there. Okay. Trying to catch up here on these chats here. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing questions I need to answer. A lot of conversation going on. I like to see that. Saucy Mare, I must have missed your comment there, but you don't need to shut up. Can you go over the lines and folds for a peace sign again? I always get confused. The lines, I folded the line here in the middle, and then I drew the two outer lines on. This here is the actual circle of the peace sign, and then this part here is going to be the inner lines. And I folded that up even with the middle so that the inner lines are going to be just as wide as the outer lines. Is that the question that you were asking there, Emily? Okay, let's see. I think I'm going to do a light purple on the inside here. And let's go with the green around the peace sign. Where do you get your blank tapestries? I buy them from sunshinejoy.com. When you get over to the website, there's a tab that says tapestries. If you click that, then you can scroll down in the menu to the blank white tapestries. And they usually have 3 or 4 sizes available right now. And I think at some point they'll probably get more back in stock. I know at one point they did have like 6 or 8 different sizes. Try the heart, make it look so easy. I make it look easy because I've had lots of practice.
About that, there's been some concern that the fold is really complex. If you want to reverse engineer and show them how so they get it in their head, I found one for you.
Okay. Okay. So let's see. You should get free dye from Darwick if you get this. Okay, yeah, we got that. I think the tulip is good for starting out. One of your, okay, I think I went back too far now. Okay, let's be me then. I want to hear all that he is saying because he does such good work. So can we pin you down on your favorite colored dye? Yes, rainbow is my favorite color. Here, how's that for pinning me down? I think turquoise is one of my favorite dyes, just because it seems to be the one that I run out of most often. So I use it a lot, but anytime I put blue on, I like to layer the turquoise down in there first. So I do a lot of layering of my colors. And like I say, the green, I'm going to put a darker color on. The purple, I'll probably put it darker. So the turquoise, though, gets layered under sometimes my green dyes. It gets layered under my purple dyes. Sometimes I'll put turquoise down first and then put fuchsia on to go into a purple. So I think overall, turquoise is one of my favorite dyes. And then another one I really like is the deep orange, just because I haven't had much luck in mixing an orange that I really like. So the deep orange from Dharma is another color that I really like. Okay, so I'm going to slowly start touching this up now. So I'm going to bring these lines up. I usually will leave a little bit of a white line and let my dyes spread, and I can see they're just about to the line here. So now I'm going to just touch them up a little bit more and see if we can finish this up. And I don't know if we'll have time to do the other t-shirt I was going to do. I've been chatting too much, but I guess it depends on how long you guys want to hang out. Yeah, I'm having problems hearing him too. Oh, sometimes I think I turn my head away. I will try to keep my focus going here so that, because my little mic is right there, and I do try to talk into it, but I'm also going to try and find a way to see if I can hook up a different mic to my phone. Okay. Okay, you guys are saying you're good to hang out. All right. And so far, I didn't see another bid, so I think the Snowflake Tapestry number 2 is sitting at 90. So when I'm done dyeing the peace sign here, we're going to go ahead and close that out. So there's still another few minutes if anybody else wants to put a bid on the Snowflake number 2. Okay, I'm going to use my cuticle pusher to press some of this dye in right here by the lines, because this here sometimes is where you end up with white areas is right next to the line because of the tightness of the tapestry here. And I'm going to touch it up a little bit more here, but I just want to get some of this pressed down in here before I do. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to put some darker green over top of this, just because I like a little bit of texture going on. And then we're going to put some darker purple, or plum, over top of my purple in here. Okay, now we're going to flip this back over and finish dyeing the other side. Let's see, if you repurpose a garment dyed as grease stain darken the dye. Yeah, sometimes if I have something that has a grease stain on it, I'll try to make sure that I dye it in a darker color, because the grease stain with lighter colors like yellow or light turquoise or something, sometimes it just dyes the fabric, and if there's a darker spot on the fabric, then that just shows up darker. But if you put a darker color on, you know, a dark blue or a dark green over top of that grease spot, then you can usually hide it in there. Lockdown life and week off work with my hands. I need to... Okay, go ahead. We'll wait. Right, we sat here this long. I'm down for another shirt. If anyone ever wants to screw with Carl, just hide that cuticle pusher. It sure doesn't seem it's been that long. Yes, it's been 2 hours. Well, more than 2 hours now. My timer's probably gone off, so I can bring that heart in soon. Okay, I'm going to put the other color on here. I'm going to break out my big bottle green dye. Yep, because I don't want to fill my thing right now, so we'll just use the big bottle. And like I say, the heart won't take long. I'll just need to rinse it a little bit and then add the dye on. I'm just going to dye it pink or fuchsia. And then I'm going to do a Rainbow Vortex tea. I do have a Vortex tea in, but I did it in purple and green. And recently I've done a rainbow one, and I've had a lot of people commenting on it, so I decided to do a Rainbow Vortex. Also here in Corvallis, some of the parent groups, they organized an Adopt a Graduate thing on Facebook. So I went in and adopted a graduate, and well, one of the things that she likes is the full rainbow. So I decided I'm going to make her a rainbow tea, and why not just make it right here on this video. So I'm going to make this for my adopted graduate, 2020 graduate, and just make her a tie-dye tea right here on live video. Okay. I need a big bottle. I'm new here. Where do we view the item he is auctioning off right now? You can view the Snowflake Tapestry. Here, I'll put my launch links in there. So I think it's the second link. I think the first link is for this video. The second link is for the two tapestries. And right now we're auctioning off the Snowflake Tapestry number 2. So you can see the full thing there. And once I get this here done, I can show it again, but I don't want to bring it up here while I have this dye on the table. But it's sitting at $90 right now for the high bid. Okay, I think we're just about done with the peace sign. Like I said, I just keep adding layers on into these thicker parts. And sometimes in the really thick parts, I'll push my bottle down inside. And then on this other area, I add another layer on of the darker color, just because I like to layer colors. But whenever I layer colors, I like to do it the same way on the top and the bottom to try to make sure that it evens out in there. With the extra thickness of this tapestry, the number of layers, if you add the dark color on just one side, then it's definitely going to make your tapestry unbalanced color-wise. So on these, I try to add the same colors on the top and the bottom, just to try to make it as even as possible. Okay, and I think I'm going to peek down in there and see if I have any white. I don't see any white there. I don't see any there. I see just a little bit there. So I'm going to add a little bit more dye, and I'm going to tap it in with my cuticle pusher. Okay, so there is the tie-dye peace sign. So what I'm going to do is set this aside to batch for 48 hours, and then of course I'll do a reveal video when it's ready. So we're going to move these out of the way, wipe up the table a little bit. Let me see if we can catch up with anything that's going on. I don't know if any more bids have come in. If there has, please let me know. But otherwise, right now, I think the high bid is still sitting at $90. So if there's been a higher bid, please speak up so I can see it. Also shows in the lives. Thank you guys for helping answer some of these questions. How long do you set aside before rinsing it out? I usually do 2 days, 48 hours, and I try to add heat to it. So these tubs, they come with lids, and I will stack them either next to a heater vent, or if the sun is shining, I'll put them out on the shed roof in the sun. So the heat helps speed things up too. Cool designs up for auction. Thank you. Yep, 48 hours. Thank you guys for answering those questions. I appreciate you guys helping out. Is there any way to make a skull design with tie-dye? Yes, I do have a skull video up. It's in my images playlist, but if you also just search my channel for tie-dye skull, you'll find it. There's also just a quick one for a tie-dye steely. So both of those are in my images playlist, so you can check there for it. I've noticed the longer I leave mine, the less washout, provided it stays wet. Yes, because more of the dye is actually bonding with the cotton fibers, so less of the dye is then being washed out. How do you get dye off your hands? They're mostly time. I usually don't worry about it. If I have dye on my hands, everybody's used to seeing me. I've heard some people say toothpaste, you can scrub it off. Some people say they use a pumice stone if it's just a light coat on there. There used to be a hand soap from Dharma, I think it was Reed Duran, but I'm not sure if it's available anymore or not. But that was one thing that worked pretty good. Washable markers. Do you let your ice dyes batch for 48 hours also? Yes, I do. After all of the ice is melted, then that's when I put it aside and I batch for 48 hours. So the ice dyes take a little bit longer because the ice needs to melt before I actually start batching it. Bob Ross tie-dye, I mean that with much respect. Thank you. I've been watching. I have to finish watching tomorrow's. It's 11:40. Okay, peace out, Cassie. Thank you for joining us. Okay, I'm gonna go get the heart. It should be ready to go now. Okay, so here's what we got. Sometimes it looks like more color, it comes out, but then it seeps back in. So this here sometimes looks a little darker if it's sat for a while. So what I'm going to do is just do a quick rinse on this, and then we're going to put some dye on it. So you guys have to bear with me. Sorry I don't have any fancy music or video to play during this time, but I'll be right back. Okay, so I rinsed this, and like I say, it did lighten up a little bit more here. I think more of it will kind of wash out when I do the wash. But right now I need to put this in the wash machine to spin out, so once again I have to walk away from my live feed. Leave you guys sitting here to chat with each other. But I'm going to spin this out and I'll be right back. Okay, Julie said she would go put it in the washer for me, so she can spin that out and we'll get started on the next thing here. Okay, let me see if there's any more questions or bids or anything here. I don't see any new bids. So right now we still have the Snowflake Tapestry sitting at $90. Carl, I bet you say Dharma in your sleep. Yep, I dream tie-dye. Am I the only person that has such issues making a heart like that? My design always looks like a blob. It just takes practice. That point is the main thing that you want to make sure of, that you keep that nice in line there, because that's usually what makes things look like a blob, is losing that point. So just make sure that it's folded in there carefully, and then make sure that you get it tied, that it's still down in there, the line from the heart, making sure it's going down straight. If it's going off to the side or it's been pulled off to the side, then you've lost the heart. And then the other thing is getting your dies on, and sometimes it's a matter of using a dry rag on your t-shirt so you can kind of wrap it around. If you have your heart all folded up and tied here and you put your color on, you can use a dry rag to kind of soak up some of that excess so that it doesn't spill out outside of the heart there. But it just takes some practice. If you just keep at it and keep tweaking your design, I'm sure you're going to get that heart down just perfect. But yes, I've seen lots of people that have just that little issue, but once they get it, then they have it.
Fold that peace sign.
Let's see. Thank you, MrTieDye. You're amazing. I'm glad you're answering questions. You're welcome. What will happen if you don't set for 48 hours? It's still going to come out. I recommend at least a minimum of 24 hours. But I know there's some people that they live in hotter places and they'll batch for just 12 hours because the heat is up. It just is going to, the 48 hours is just going to allow more of the dye to actually bond, and the heat also helps the dye bond. So if you do less than that, then just a little bit less dye is going to bond, so your colors are going to be just a little bit lighter. So it's not a requirement. 48 hours is just my personal preference. I like the way that the colors look after 48 hours, so that's what I do. But if you're happy with the 24-hour look of the colors, then I say do 24 hours. Okay, let me see if I can catch up here. Okay, tulip minimum is what I was referring to, 4 to 6 hours, but basically the longer the better. Yes, with the tulips, I still recommend people leaving them sit for 24 hours, and I also recommend, if you have it, you know, you're doing the tulip, to still use soda ash in there. But people can batch for the length of time that they're comfortable with. I just like to show the results that you get from the longer batch times. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is add my dyes on here. And let's see, where am I? Oh, there it is. So I'm going to put some gloves on, and we're going to squirt some dye on this. So this here has just been rinsed so far and then spun out so that it's just barely damp. And I'm going to add dye to it, and then I'm going to squirt my soda ash on top of that. So it doesn't have to be pre-soaked in soda ash. You just have to have soda ash introduced before you do your batching process. So I'm going to add my dye just into these bleached out areas, or color removed areas, because I use a decolorant, not a bleach. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. What do you think about that rinse addictive additive that companies sell that sets the dye? Do you rinse with it before you do the final wash? Do you think it's worth? I've heard about other setting fixatives and stuff. I haven't ever tried any of them, so I can't speak to them. I've always had good luck with just using the soda ash, whether I pre-soak it in soda ash, or I tie it and then soak it in soda ash, or I tie it, dye it, and then squirt soda ash on it, and then batch for 24 to 48 hours. I haven't had any issues with my dyes washing out after that point. It's just a matter of doing a really good wash with the hot water to get the excess dyes out. So, to me, I don't want to say it's a waste of money, but it's not something that I would spend my money on. How about that? But it might be in some instances that maybe I like I say, I haven't gone in to look at it, so I don't know for sure just exactly what it's used for, but there might be a certain type of dyeing that you'd want to use it for. Okay, so now I put my dyes on. Now I'm going to just squirt soda ash on, just like I would just squirt extra dye on. So I'm just putting soda ash right over top of this. This, of course, is going to water it down some, but I don't need it to be a really dark pink. Another option that I could have done was I could have soaked this in soda ash and then spun it out so it was barely damp and then put my dyes on. But since we're doing this live video, it was just easier to have Julie spin it out and bring it to me. So now the soda ash, the cotton, and the dye are all present. So now it can sit aside, and I'll batch this now for 48 hours. Okay, let's clean up a little bit and get started on this last tee. You guys said you were wanting to hang out, so we're going to do one more quick t-shirt here. This here is going to be the Rainbow Vortex. So that's basically an oval vortex tee, but dyed in the rainbow colors. So I'm going to get my workstation cleaned up. Okay, let me see if there's any more bids. I think we'll go ahead and close the bidding out. I've scrolled back some. I don't see any other bids. Right now I'm still seeing that Michelle Sykes is the high bid at $90. So if anybody else had a bid in there that I'm missing, put it in now. Or if you haven't bid and you want to, this is for the Snowflake. I guess I can show that now that I have this all cleaned up. This here is the Snowflake number 2. And the high bid is sitting at $90 right now. And we're going to close this out in just about a minute, and then I'm going to tie this other t-shirt up. With what you dyed. Yeah, so bandanas is a nice fun thing to practice on, and they do make for little mini tapestries that I've had people hang them up in their office or something where they don't have a lot of wall space. They can add a little bit of color to their office by hanging up a little bandana that's a mini tapestry. Okay, Jewel, nice to see you. Thanks again for becoming a member of my site. And we'll catch you next time. And like I say, this video will go up after I'm done shooting it here. We're going on 2.5 hours. We'll probably be at least another half hour with this other tee here. I'm going to try to work through this quickly as I keep an eye on the questions. So with the oval tees, the Vortex, what I do is I turn the t-shirt inside out. It's been soaked in soda ash and it's been spun out so it's barely damp. I kind of grab the armpits to kind of smooth it out nice and flat to get it nice and even here. And then what I do is I take one sleeve and I tuck it into the other. So I'm just picking this sleeve up, bring it all the way through. And then I'm just grabbing the lower hem, the seam here on the arm, and lining those two spots up. And once you line those two spots up, then I'll grab the rest of the sleeve and line it up. You just got to get everything unfolded and laying flat. But then once I kind of give that a little bit of a shake, then I can reach in here and I straighten out the shoulder seams. So this big seam here on top, I make sure that those two are lined up on top of each other. And then you can usually shake the thing, lay it down, and I pick up the front and the back of the tee. And I can usually give it one more shake. Then I have my tee nice and centered. It's folded in half, and I have the front and the back separate from each other. And that's when it's going to help make the t-shirt more even side to side. Oh, I guess I was supposed to close out the bidding. Okay, so I don't see any other bids. So $90 going once, $90 going twice, and $90 going 3 times. No new bids. Okay. Sold to Michelle Sykes for $90. So thank you for bidding. Thank you all for bidding. Thank you guys for hanging out. It shows we still have 71 people watching here. So what I usually do for the oval tees is I just start out with my washable marker and I draw myself an oval on here. Just kind of freehand it. And then we'll go ahead and just fold that up. It doesn't really matter on this if you start at the top or the bottom, just whatever is comfortable for you. And I usually just start my pleats. I usually go maybe about a ½ inch or a little bit taller, depending on how long of a run. Sometimes if I'm doing a longer run on a bigger t-shirt or a tapestry, then I'll do a little bit taller of a pleat, and that just helps so that things don't buckle up on you when you tie them off. But usually a ½ inch is a good height. ½ inch to 3/4 is a good height. Okay. Yep, we got some congratulations for Mickey on winning the tapestry, and Jewel is taken out. Peace out, Jewel. Thanks again for stopping in. Thanks again for supporting my channel. Alrighty, so I'm just going to try to whip through this pretty quickly here and keep up on the chat as I go here. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I understand though that if you need to go, you need to go, but for those of you that don't really have a place to go right now, then this here is a good place. Just hang out, and it's been fun watching you guys chat with each other and asking questions and people helping answer the questions if I'm busy. I just love this community. And even just this t-shirt that I'm making, like I say, it's for a graduate that I adopted. I just thought it was a wonderful thing that somebody in our community figured this out, just to kind of show some of our seniors, graduating seniors. I guess not graduating, they're graduated now, but they didn't get to walk like everybody else did. So this was just one way to kind of help make them feel a little more special. So they sent me just a list of her favorite things, and like I say, rainbows was one of them. So I thought, I am the king of rainbows, so I will make her a tea. So anyways, thank you guys for hanging out while I make this gift. Okay, so once I get the first wrap done on there, I usually will go ahead and wrap it down here and just kind of sort out my pleats. And then I'm going to straighten out the rest of the pleats as I go back up the shirt. I'm going to have the whole shirt pleated in this oval pattern. So that's the nice thing about kite string is you can kind of get part of it tied up and then you work and get things flattened out and then you can tie more of it up. I guess you can do the same thing with rubber bands, but I just like how kite string allows me to adjust the tension that I want, where sometimes the rubber bands, they're just as tight as they are and there's no adjusting that unless you double them up. Let's see. What is the other name for soda ash? It's sodium carbonate. And what do I need to make sure if it, let's get it, yeah, just make sure that it says sodium carbonate or soda ash on there. If it says sodium bicarbonate, that's baking soda and you don't want that. So you want to make sure that you get 100% soda ash. And like I say, they use it for pool supply in the pools, so that they have it at the pool supply stores. Here in Corvallis, I can buy a 50-pound bag for $30, and I've seen other people say that they buy it from anywhere from $30 to I think $45 for a 50-pound bag. So it just varies depending on where you live. But another place that people buy it is they buy washing soda in the laundry aisle. And I'm not sure if you would find pH up in the laundry aisle or where. That might be in the pool supply section of the laundry or the department store. But pH up and washing soda typically are soda ash also. The main thing though is to check the label and verify that it does say 100% soda ash on it before you buy one of those. And just be wary of the sodium bicarbonate because that's baking soda. You can use baking soda to make soda ash, but if you have access to soda ash, that's even better because then it's less of a hassle. But I know some people don't have access to it, and that's why then baking soda comes in handy for that. Let's see, rubber bands have limitations. Tie wraps occasionally leave lines. No gavel. Nope, I should get a gavel. I need a gavel here. Here, I could use this as a gavel. And now I need a little wood platform. But yes, congratulations, Mickey, you won. Okay, so I usually just kind of work my way up here. I just straighten out these pleats as I go along, and I just keep tying this up. And when I'm getting down, you know, I have part of the shirt tail here, and I got the sleeves here, so I just kind of push those together the best that I can. But I like to do these ovals. Sometimes I'll dye just the oval here and the rest of it a different color. But sometimes I like to do the DNA oval all the way up to the end. So that's what we're doing with this one, the full rainbow all the way up to T. Okay, does soda ash ever lose its potency? How long can you keep it? I haven't had any kind of issues with soda ash going bad on me. Well, I guess I used to make mine and store it in gallon-sized jugs like this here, and whenever it gets low, then I just make another batch and pour it in there. Now I actually have 2 dedicated wash machines outside, so I make up, you know, 10 or 15 gallons of soda ash at a time poured out in the washer, and then as that gets low, I will make more and just add it to it. Sometimes from soaking the different tapestries and stuff, it will take on just a little bit of a kind of a off-white hue. You know, it just has a little bit of a yellowy color to it, and that's fine. The main thing, if I've had some people say that they had their soda ash have a really bad smell to it. I don't know if that was specifically the soda ash or if maybe it was something that they soaked in it. But that's the only time I've ever heard anybody pouring soda ash out was because it had a bad smell. But I've never had my soda ash develop a smell like that. So I just keep using the same stuff and just adding more as it gets low. Pam, Carl, help me out with that. Okay, I graciously appreciate you take the time to share your art and technique. Your online posts are also soul pleasing. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, Angela. I'm glad. Yes, I love to just do whatever I can to try to uplift people, and whether that be with teaching them how to do tie-dye or just reminding them about their own soul presence. We all are one on this planet, and we're all a part of God, and I like to just remind people of who we are. And we got a lot of negative stuff going on right now, but when I step back and view that from a higher perspective, I can see that the more dark, dirty stuff that we see just means that it's being revealed, and we're going to step up higher from here. We're not going to go back to the same old ways of the world. We're going to step into the new world. We're slowly creating a new way of being in the new world. So, yeah, 2020, the year of clear sight. Okay, so I'm going to do, I think, like a 8-color rainbow here. So I'm going to add 2 greens and 2 blues in there. And I usually just line all my colors up, and then I just go down the row here. And then for the DNA thing, I move 1 bottle, and you'll see that. Let's see. I'm in California. We have hard water. They put chlorine in it. Will it affect the dye mixing? That I don't know, but if you are noticing an issue with your dye not working the same, you might try using distilled water. I know a lot of dyers, if they've had any issues with hard water or other things added to their water, then they use the distilled water, and that has solved their problems.
You can make your own by putting it in a gallon jug and leaving the lid on for 48 hours. I'm actually out of towels right now, but I do have some rags. So yes, I will put some rags down here. Everybody is wanting to see towels, I guess, but I don't have a towel handy. I need to do my laundry again. I got lots of different laundry that we do around here now, whether it's tie-dye laundry or it's my tie-dye rag laundry or our regular laundry. But yes, the towels, they do help. Like I say, if you're working on something that's damp, then the dry towel is going to try to suck some of that liquid out. I mean, the fabric just likes to equalize between the dry and the wet. So that's the main reason I put it on there, and I usually will kind of give it a push down. And when I'm done, I can pick this up and I can feel the dampness. So I know that some of the soda ash has gone out of my tea and into the rag or the towel below it. And then I just go along and I just put each one of my colors on. And I usually just put 1 layer, and then I come back and I add another layer to it. But I like to get them all on there. If you try to add too much at one time, then it's going to keep wanting to spread sideways on you and make
thicker lines. So if you want to keep the lines thinner, it's better to go ahead and put all your colors on and then come back and add more and let it soak in then. Yeah, as far as the towels, we find them at the thrift store, and you can buy towels cheaply that way. The rags, I buy those in big stacks because I used to do a lot of the school events. So we went through a lot of rags, so that's where most of the rags came from. But Julia slowly started finding me towels out at the thrift stores and picking them up and adding them into my collection. Great already, thank you. Do you wash each piece separately from another? No, I rinse them separately in the sink, but then I wash between 10 and 15 t-shirts at a time in the washer. So I will rinse them by hand in cold water in the sink, and then I slowly start to untie them, and I kind of turn the water, once I've rinsed the soda ash away. That's the main reason for the cold water, rinsed while it's tied. And then I will remove the bands, turn it up to warm, and rinse some more, and then they get dropped into the wash machine, which already has hot water and Synthropol in there. So then I wash them all at the same time, and then of course toss them into the dryer. But I do 3 hot washes to get all of the excess dyes out. Here in San Francisco, we wear tie-dye out and around. Do you feel comfortable walking around Corvallis in tie-dye? Yes, I do. I wear tie-dye everywhere I go. And usually I wear tie-dye head to toe. I have my shirt tie-dyed, I have my pants tie-dyed, and I have my jacket tie-dyed. And it's especially funny when I go travel someplace. I've had pictures taken of me, you know, secretly. Somebody will be standing behind me in line, and I'll hear the little sound of their camera phone. Turn around, they'll try to act like they didn't take a picture of me, but I know they just did. But I do it for not shock value so much as to just spread the joy out there into the world. It brings a smile to people's faces sometimes to see me wearing a full rainbow out in town. So yes, I feel perfectly safe wearing my tie-dye out and around all over the world. I live near Willington, North Carolina on the East Coast, and I'll wear my tie-dye everywhere I go. Yes, awesome. Yes, the world needs more color. Okay. So we still got 72 people watching. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. We're going to quickly finish this one up, and then I'll close this out. We had 2 good tapestry auctions, so I appreciate that. And then, like I say, next week I'll figure out whatever I'm doing then, and I'll auction off the peace sign and the heart tapestry if somebody is interested in that. Let's see. Tie-dye will put new life in your favorite clothes has been stained. Oh, yes. Yeah, a lot of times we'll find clothes that have been tossed out at the Goodwill or something because they got stains on them. Well, if you tie-dye them, then you give them new life. Or if you have your own favorite shirt, tie-dyeing it is a nice way to kind of bring it back to life. Sometimes they just get old and they have a stain and you don't wear them anymore, and all of a sudden you tie-dye it and you can wear your favorite t-shirt again. Okay, so after I put the first layer on, I can already see these little white fibers that show up. To me, that says that there's more fabric down inside where the dye's spread down in there, and it kind of stands these little white fingers up. I'm not sure if you guys can see that or not, but I'm going to pick this up and hold it up to the camera. And since I live in the future, I have to wait for that to catch up to see if, yeah, you guys can see those kind of fuzzy white lines. Those are the little white fuzzies that I look for to indicate that there's more white down inside. Now, of course, I haven't dyed the other side yet, so that's part of it. But after I do the first coat, I usually will go back over and I will add another coat of each color. But this here is faster because I can jump to each one of them and add color. And then the thickest part of the t-shirt is where I will add more dye, just because there's more layer of fabric for it to soak down into. And the other areas that I don't need quite so much. So down here, this orange here, I can just go one quick time. Over here, I'm going to go a few times just to get enough dye down inside there. And you can even open up with a cuticle pusher just to peek down in there and see kind of how you're doing. Doesn't need to be all the way through because you're going to still add color from the other side. But yeah, I can see that it's about halfway down in there now, so I think this will be my last coat of dye for this side, and I'm going to flip it over. See. Here in New Wells, it would not be appropriate. Yeah, some places they don't appreciate it. But maybe those are places that you need to wear it then. Or wear just a little bit, just to tempt somebody. Sometimes I'll wear tie-dyes that they don't exactly look tie-dye. I mean, some of my stuff is full-on rainbow, but sometimes when I wear some of my more muted stuff, people don't even realize it's tie-dye at first. So that's a way to maybe start a community out, is by wearing some less wild tie-dye. Yeah, that's what I like to tell people in my booth at the Saturday market, that I sold everything from wild to mild. So you want the bright rainbow? I can do that. You want just camo colors? I can do that too. Okay, what else we got going on here? The dreaded fuzzies. Yes, the dreaded fuzzies. Although in this instance the fuzzies are good because it does let you know that more dye is needed. Even though I haven't seen this finished product, I probably would answer my own question when I do, but I was just wondering why you tied an oval if you're going to tie the whole shirt. Because the whole shirt, I mean, it's going to be in an oval, but the DNA pattern is going to replicate itself all the way out. So the oval is just going to be continued, and I don't think I have one around, but I recently have dyed one of these shirts and I just got a lot of comments on it. So, but yes, I will do a reveal video for all 3 of these designs that I did today. Oh, did I just set my stuff down out of order? I think I did. I'm at the purple now. Yeah, that's the one thing you want to make sure of when you're picking your bottles up and setting them down, is that you put them back into their same place, because you can get off kilter then on your dyes. Okay, so now I'm going to flip this over onto my new rags, and I can already see color seeping through in all of my areas here, so that's looking good. That's what I like to see. And then the other thing that I do when I'm doing the DNA, let me move all my bottles. So I started with my fuchsia dye here at the tip, and then I went orange, yellow, green all the way up, and then I just rotated when I finished with the purple. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fuchsia dye and move it all the way down to the end and scoot these all back down. So now this here is my new order for putting the dyes on if you want the DNA pattern. If you put the dyes on top and bottom the same way, then you're going to end up with just solid lines. If you put the dyes on staggered, just one area, then you get that crosshatch, or what they call the DNA look going on. So over top of this place where I started with the fuchsia, now I'm going to start with the orange. So that just offsets my colors, just one thing, and it just creates a different patterning. So now in all my fuchsia spots, I'm going to put orange. So the second side goes faster also, because I can kind of see by looking at the shirt where the other side, where I put the fuchsia on. So that's what I'm doing, is just putting the colors on in the same places on one side over on the bottom side. I can't talk today. Okay. Let me see here. I'll be brave soon. Yes, you will. Yeah, sometimes it's you just start with one design and then you step up to another one, and yeah, you'll find your water there. Well, repurposed clothing. Yes, something new, out old. Yes. There's a pattern like a warp. That's the pattern like a warp vibe. Yes. What dye do you use? I want to start tie-dyeing. I use fiber reactive Procyon dyes, and I buy most of my dyes from Dharma. So in most of my videos, or not most of them, but several of the videos, there is a link to it. But if you just search Dharma, you'll find the Dharma dyes. But you can also find the same dyes from Procam, from Custom Colors in North Carolina, and from Grateful Dyes in Colorado. But the main thing to look for is Procyon dyes. And the Procyon dyes are going to need soda ash. That's what activates them. And if you check out my beginner playlist on here, you'll see a video on how I mix my dyes and how I mix the soda ash. And on that one, in the description, there probably is a link to the Dharma dyes that I use. Tie-Dye Storm, say hello, Brazil Ateli. Printo, your fans. Yes, hello, hello. Oh, is this maybe Theo? I don't know. Oh, yeah, I do see Theo. I did a video. I still need to edit it. So if you're the one that we've been discussing doing a video, yep, I have shot the video. I just need to edit it, and then I'll send you the file. But thank you, and hello, Brazil. Let's see. That's pattern. Dharma. Does it take long to deliver? Right now, yes, Dharma does take long to deliver. I think all of the dye houses are a little bit slow. I heard that Dharma sometimes is, well, I'm not going to try and state, I don't know for sure. But if they've been slow, you can try one of the other dye houses and see if you can get it delivered faster. But they're working a skeleton crew just like a lot of other places are, so it just slows things down, and we just have to be patient. And eventually you'll get your supplies, and you'll be having some fun tie-dyeing. And then you have to be careful because this art is quite addictive. I've been doing it for 20 years now, and well, you can see I'm still here doing it. What orange do you use? Daffodil is orange. Yeah, daffodil was a little bit too, I bought daffodil because I wanted kind of a gold color, so I ended up adding a melted peep dye to it to mellow that out. But the dye that I use for my orange, I use deep orange from Dharma. That's the one that I like, and I've been using that same deep orange for 20 years now. And I did recently buy another orange down here. Orange sorbet. That one's just a little bit lighter of an orange. But this deep orange, I've really liked that over the years for my orange dye. Okay, so I got my first coat on. I'm going to go back and put one more light coat on all of these, and then we're going to call this good. Let's see. Is that Caesar cipher of tie-dye? I don't know. Someone told me to get the kit to start. Yeah, if you want to just try the dyes out, the kit will have everything in it that you need, and that way if you're still not sure if you're going to get into tie-dye real big, a kit allows you to get in for a small price just to kind of try it out. And then if you like it, then you can buy the individual dyes and just go crazy then. What size tip do you use on your dye bottles? I see they are small. I don't know what size the tip is, but yes, they do have a fine metal tip there. I bought these bottles on Dharma. I think they went under the name of glue bottles. I don't have access to it right now, but I know on some of my other videos, I do have a link in the description. Anywhere that I've used these bottles in my newer videos, I usually try to put a link in the description to them. So you can check that out, or just search on Amazon for 4-ounce glue bottles or with metal tips or something, and you should find it. Or you can hit me up in a question in the comments later, and I can answer that for you. Okay, so this here is my last coat that I'm putting on of all these colors, and then we're going to close this out. So thank you all for joining me for this Tie-Dye Wednesday. I look forward to these days, this show every week. It's been a lot of fun just to have so many people hanging out. So let's see. That is a long-standing addiction. You might have a problem, yes. But admitting it is the first step to being cured, although I don't know that I really want to be cured. I kind of like my addiction. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. How many tie-dye shirts can you make with a starter kit? It depends on what size you get. They have several different sizes. I think the smallest kit is for like maybe 6 t-shirts, but then you can get one for, I don't know if it's 12 or 20 or something, but they have, I think, 4 or 5 different sizes of kits. So just go on to Dharma and look up tie-dye kits. Where do you get your bigger bottles? I got all of those, the bigger bottles, these 16-ounce ones and these 32-ounce ones. I bought those all from Dharma. So I've had those around for a long time. Some of these shorter, squattier 16-ounce bottles, some of these I probably have had for like 16 years now. So they switched to these new bottles. They're okay, but I did prefer this older style better. And I've also heard some people, they buy bottles from hair salon, the hair dye bottles. They say those are good with the fine tips on those. But I've used these other bigger bottles for a long time, and then on Dharma I found these small little bottles with the metal tips on them. And then they came out with another new kind, and these ones came with 3 different size tips on them. So, but then, of course, these here are smaller bottles. I think 1 ounce, 2 ounces, and this here is 4 ounces here. So when I found these on Amazon, I bought a bunch, and after I used them for a year and didn't have any issues, then I bought another batch of them so that I could put more colors into these bigger bottles. So now I'm going to take a quick peek, see if I have any white, and I think it's looking good. Best places to check for white areas are in these thickest areas of the t-shirt. This here's up around the sleeve and the shoulder part. That's where you're going to probably have most of the issues, but I still like to usually check all the way along just to give me an idea of how things are looking. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. I think we're going to call that good, and we're going to set this aside the batch. So 48 hours for this, and then I'll be doing a washout. Okay, so let me check my questions here, see if we got anything else going on, and then I'm probably going to close this out. Okay. Sorry, I was thinking the tulip kit again. Oh, yeah. Nope, I haven't tried the tulip dyes. I've just heard other people talk about it. And tulip, I mean, it does have some, I'm not going to say that it's bad. It's just not as good as the fiber reactive Procyon dyes. But a lot of people, tulip is the place where they get started. So that is another option for getting started, just to kind of try it out. But if you want better colors, then you need to step up to a better dye. But tulip is definitely a great way to try out tie-dye. See, we don't have Dharma, I don't think. There's an Amazon and eBay. Tulip is good, but if you want real, yep, Procyon. Wish I had your studio space. Well, this here, you're seeing all of my studio space right here. This here is a 6-foot table, but you can see I have dies stacked to here. So this here is actually, what you see is all of my studio. It's just a little corner of my kitchen. I am looking forward to having a new place where I have a huge table and several areas where I can fold up over here and dye up over there and do my laundry back there. So I do look forward to a bigger studio space. But sometimes you just have to take over what area that you have. I've lived in several different places over the last 20 years, and I just kind of find my corner and just make it work. And I've worked in several different setups. I've also done a lot of home parties, so I've gone into other people's houses and set up and done tie-dye in various different ways. And a lot of people, they do tie-dye. Granted, it's limited to the warmer season, but they do tie-dye outside. So all kinds of possibilities for setting up to do tie-dye. Okay. Now Carl has me try and crochet on. Oh, awesome. Can you please make a camouflage shirt green? Yes, I've done camouflage shirts. I usually just do a scrunch for those, and then I just use various colors of green, tan, brown, and black, and do my tie-dye, and I just kind of randomly color it all over, you know, just a scrunch design. But yes, I can try to add that into my list at some point and see if I can get a video made, or maybe on the end of one of these live videos. But we've gone for 3 hours now, so I need to close this one. I love that you're so organized and neat. Yep, I just have stuff piled everywhere, but in a neat fashion so that I can find everything that I need. I mean, I got different boxes with all kinds of goodies over here, and I got a shelf up here with all my dyes up there, and the different dye bottles, and my stencils up on top of the shelf. And yes, please share pics. Is that to me or is that to somebody else? Thanks, Carl. I've enjoyed. Oh, thank you, Bob. I love you too. I'll see you again next week. I'm closing this up though here. But you have a separate washer and steamer for tie-dye. Yes, I actually have 2 washers that are dedicated just for tie-dye, and then I have a third washer that is tie-dye / our home laundry plus my tie-dye, you know, tie-dye laundry. So anyways, I can hardly wait to see how it turns out. Yes, me too. I have fun doing these, and it's fun seeing them come out. We won't get the reveal before the gift receiver, right? Oh yes, you will. Yeah, I don't, other than picking her name off of a list, it's not somebody that I know. I know that she's local here in town, but other than that, I don't know anything other than the sheet that she gave me. So if she's watching, I mean, that would be cool that she got to see all of this. But yes, I will do the whole reveal and everything. I usually do them on Fridays. So okay, I think that's about it. I don't see any more questions, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Remember to go out into the world and smile at somebody. I know we can't hug everybody right now, but you know, send some peace, love, and light out to the world. Wave at your neighbor, pet your dog, and I just love you all. I love you for guys joining me for these Wednesdays. I look forward to this all week long, figuring out what I'm going to tie-dye next, and I look forward to seeing you guys again next Wednesday. Okay, night, Saucy Mare. We'll see you later. And for everybody, peace, love, light, and laughter. Namaste. I love you, and I will see you next Wednesday. Well, I'll see you guys on Friday too with the reveal, but not live.